Okay. Call this to order. The meeting is this meeting being recorded by the planning board. If any other persons present are recording the meeting, you must notify the chairperson at this time.
Yes.
And we will do public comments. I think because we have several items on the agenda, I guess first of all, I'd be curious what people want to comment on, and we can shuffle. We'll get through our action items, but then we're happy to move discussion items around so people don't have to sit around and wait till their item comes up. So let's get through our action items, and I'll ask what folks want to comment on, and we can react to that. Okay, roll call of members. We're all here, so we don't have to do it. Hang on. Hi. Go ahead. Your head's here. Jeff Sauer, chair.
Tom Bledsoe.
Sarah Brown Anson, member.
Victor Michelle, a member.
George Tlemcen, vice chair.
All right, and I will elevate Tom to voting member today because we didn't have an empty slot on the bench. All right, next item, approval of meeting minutes. July 7th minutes.
Second.
Comments?
I unfortunately was not there, so it should probably take me off the list of the attendees.
George?
Oh, yeah.
So that was one comment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, George. I didn't mean to jump.
No, that's fine. Yes, in the middle of page 4, where it says Tlemcen's noted, one correction that it says local commercial zoning, that should be limited commercial as far as that zoning district. And I would suggest that rather than intent, we use the term purpose, because that's what for each zoning district, that is the term that's used in the ordinance.
Purpose instead of intent.
But for each district, it says, first thing it says is purpose. So rather than using intent to match the language of the ordinance, that's my suggestion. But limited commercial rather than local commercial. That's the name of the district. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Anything else, folks? Okay. The motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're going to abstain, right?
You can vote.
I know.
Good vote, yeah.
You may be with it.
Yeah, I did read it.
Yeah. All right, updates from the mayor's office. No topics reasonably anticipated. All right, action items, approval not required, plan endorsements, a lot on Eunice Williams Drive and Green River Road, assessors map R31 lot 15 submitted by George Maniotti.
Is the applicant?
Don't know.
Please maybe again to join virtually. Okay. This is.
Yes, it's the Samsung. Just check and see if the applicant for the A&R is on the line. Yeah, good.
So this is an approval not required A&R that meets the minimum frontage requirements and is basically to create up by the covered bridge to create to break up a parcel that straddles the city of Greenfield and the town of Coleraine, to just make it simpler basically for them as the applicant has explained, to have two different parcels. So there's one parcel in Coleraine and one parcel in Greenfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Wendy Goodman parcel is separate, unrelated to the birds.
And by your review, no problems? Follows the rules? Does it change the buildability of the site or anything? From our perspective, on our side?
Not on our side, because nothing's changing and only on our side.
Yeah, okay. George?
Technical question. Does this go for an A&R in Coleraine as well?
I don't know the answer to that.
You would think so.
Is it uncommon to have lots that straddle across town lots?
It is pretty common.
Pretty common.
Yeah, I think that it probably does not need to go to Coleraine since the deed runs with the county. Right, the registry of deeds is county-based rather than municipality-based. But I'll let them decide.
Interesting. I don't recall that we've had one before during my tenure that was in
Okay.
two towns, municipalities.
It's a notable spot.
Mhm.
Seems fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. And it has the appropriate frontage, as you said, so we're okay.
Okay, anything else? Have a motion to endorse?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion for the chair to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I can sign while I'm here, right? See.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it, yeah. Next item, annual board reorganization, election of chairperson, vice chairperson, and clerk for the planning board. I don't remember how we do this. Do we do nominations one by one from chair? Have we done it in the past?
Oh,
Go
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just my understanding procedurally is that, according to Robert's rules, nominations do not need to be seconded and nominations can be for someone else or for yourself.
Okay.
As far as procedure. So I will nominate Jeff to continue as chair.
Thank you.
I think nominate George to continue, if you're so interested.
Well, we just one at a time.
Sorry, I didn't know you.
Procedurally, I think that's how we do it.
First, we elect the chair, then we elect the vice chair, then we elect the clerk.
Aye.
Okay. Does anyone else want to be chair?
Chad.
Want to nominate?
Good job.
Yeah, we've done it for you. It's true. You're in you. So.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Happy to do it. All right, vice chairperson.
Nominate George, you're still continuing.
I would be honored to serve. There are other nominations? People interested?
Not sure.
Next year.
Great leadership team.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And now clerk.
The role that no one wants to fill.
Zoom meeting minutes.
So we've been operating with no clerk. And I'm just wondering, how do people feel about not having a clerk? Is it really necessary that we nominate and elect someone?
Just do it ad hoc. I mean, so normally you guys do it.
Yeah, so I looked at the planning board rules and regulations and it says clerk or board agent, who is me, is responsible for minutes and record keeping, sharing materials. So I think if there were a clerk, we could divvy up those responsibilities and I would welcome that. But I can fulfill those duties.
Is there a plan to have an intern every, semester, or is it kind of just random ad hoc?
I've been trying to expand capacity through interns, and I'm also thinking about actually senior tax write-off. The senior tax write-off program might be good for this kind of long-term task where there's a lot of learning involved in writing minutes. It's really an acquired skill.
Yes.
So like a long-term person who could help. And so wondering actually if the senior tax write-off person could provide that even more effectively, because we don't always have such capable interns. Yeah.
Besides doing the minutes, will you see the other part of the job, or is there another part for a clerk's perspective?
So in the rules and regulations, they talked about distributing materials, but I feel like that's just as easy for me to do.
It seems like it's probably not essential, given our capacities, to have the clerk. Though I could see how it would help you if someone was willing to get it. But with staff, it's a.
Maybe we could have someone whose job would be to take the minutes when Ella's not here. That would be the role of the clerk, because in Ella's absence, they're responsible for the minutes.
Yeah, that's how we've done it in the past, I think.
That makes sense. Yeah.
As soon as you need a vice clerk, because clerk isn't, I mean, we could do that ad hoc
Right.
based on who's there in the room,
Yep, I think that's a good way to do it.
just
Ad hoc would be
just
good.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another way could be,
Rotation.
other than officers, everyone has to rotate through
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that, but it seems like it's probably just as well to do ad hoc.
Yeah, whoever gets here last that day, that's it.
That's it, there you go.
Historically, I think we've tried to elect as clerk whoever wasn't here. They
were being elected.
We're all here.
Yeah. Well, she volunteered.
The youngest member of it.
I'm not even a member, so I
Yeah.
can't even do it tonight.
Okay, so I think if that's okay, we'll keep you and your team in the lead role, and we'll ad hoc fill the position based on who's here
Mhm.
in your absence. Good. So we won't elect anybody. Okay, now the discussion items. So we have 5 discussion items. We're going to talk about the Greenfield Bike Plan. We're going to talk about School Street and Davis Street. We're going to talk about the ADU change and the design guidelines, the content of the design guidelines, and then also what our next steps in that process. So I just want to ask folks, we'll start with the folks in the room, who's here for what items, so we can start with the items that people are waiting around for. I know why you're here. About you too. Yeah.
We're here for, interested in everything, but
Okay.
specifically the ADU issues jumps out at us and our role, if you will, and that's important to us.
Okay. Well, if you're here for anything, you can stick around. We'll start with the ADU ones. I think none of the folks here for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and folks on the phone, is there anyone here who wants to comment on something other than the ADU item?
I'm the ADU.
Yes. Okay, well, we'll start with that one. So let's do, for those who want to speak to the ADU item, we'll start with the folks in the room, then we'll move to the folks on the screen. It'll be 3 minutes. If you don't mind coming up. If you have comments you want to share, you don't have to speak, but
Yeah, sure.
share your name and
Yeah,
Address.
location as well.
yeah, true. My name's Colby Blunt. I live in Greenfield. And like to just make a quick address about the ADU scenario. Is that about what you need? Thanks for calling us up. I don't have a whole lot to say. The whole thing came down and came through the information flow, if you will, in the last few days, at least in my case, enough to keep me from feeling 1,000% about what I might think or say at this moment. But I do feel that after a couple of years for the properties that I live on and about 30 other houses occupy up near Stone Farm and where there's an obvious build out that's occupied people for quite a while, that there's a mishmash of decisions and changes going on that are fairly disturbing to the people who live there in environments where they have homes and decades of lifestyles and living, if you will, in a certain environment that they're used to and planned on for a long time. It's changing to levels and in degrees and in quantities that is getting confusing. And I would add that generality to the mix of discussion that might come through tonight. Perhaps Al might have something to say, or Chris, maybe. They can speak for themselves, but I just thank you for the chance to sit here and make a comment or two about what we can feel as a group of quite a few homeowners in the area that this occupies that it's getting pretty goofy and switching and changing at a regular level that makes it hard to make plans for any of us, including the people who are exploring ideas of new ways to occupy the properties that abut us. So I wish everyone well, but there's seems to be a lot of information that needs to be figured out. And I think today you all and whoever checks in can find a way to get there faster, better, then I certainly would applaud that idea.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. Is there something specific about this zoning change that you want to address? Because the original ADU stuff that we did was all pretty much state mandated. So we just came in compliance with what the state mandated. And I don't think we made it any less strict or more strict than the state. It just meets what the state told us was required now. Is that correct? Do I remember it? Talking to you guys.
We allowed a second ADU by special permit.
Special permit. Okay. So the basic rules are all what we had to do. I'm not familiar with this zoning amendment. I did not see that. So who put this forward?
I did.
You did. So you put through the forward request for a larger and more than one unprotected accessory building. Okay. All right. So is that what the issue is that you're referring to? Is
Well, the confusion certainly falls into place in that regard. There's a lot of steps that have been taken from nothing to a single ADU to extra to build outs that were pledged or looked forward to that are no longer on the plate. Confusion, dropouts. There's a lot of things going on that are tied into these issues, and they include the ADUs and the new ADU. Ellen, I'm sure you'd agree, in features and includes issues that haven't been addressed fully before in terms of quantity of ADUs, scope of ADUs, scope of sizes, things like that, that I think any number of us could comment is getting more than less confusing, and in some cases, pretty unpopular. So if that sort of fires up the issue for looking for conclusions, that's my best shot for everybody. I understand your question though, but I can tell you it's been changing and moving around a lot over the last, literally, certainly a year and a half. It's a lot of time to figure out one part of a fairly large build-out environment.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Do you think it'd be worth, if anyone can speak now, or if it's helpful, do you think it would be worth just talking through what's on the table with respect to ADU? Before more people comment, or people can jump in now, or we can.
We haven't discussed or deliberated on this at all yet.
And it's not an action item. It's just, it's a new idea, so we have to talk about it in public.
I think it'd be helpful to hear what the argument is for it. And it might be helpful to the commenters as well.
Sure.
And then they could comment on that as well.
And the board's reaction to it.
And then our engagement with the commenters, yeah, okay.
Fine.
I agree.
I'm happy to chime in if you want, because I had a correspondence with Ella today, so you may want to hear that as well.
And Chris raised his hand.
Okay, well, if folks want to speak before we go over the memo, that's fine. So Al, if you want to jump in now, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. As you know, accessory dwelling units have traveled a long way over the past couple of years. They started off being a strong emphasis on family connection, mom's granny flat, and so forth. And one of the first major shocks was when the state mandated that owner-occupied no longer was required for ADUs, so that anybody, an equity investor, a landlord, anybody could jump in and buy up a single-family house and turn it into, three units in this city with no special permit, and then add an ADU and maybe an unprotected ADU, maybe a total of 5 units. So the second major change that's being initiated at this point by the city is to remove the size cap from an unprotected unit, as I understand it. And I'm not sure whether you're proposing as well. A second unprotected unit would be responsible. I had initially urged the board to just adopt a one ADU per lot. And that would be no special permit required by right. I thought that was very generous and appropriate for a community that has over 5,000 residential units. The problem is that people don't have the money to buy these things, to build them. Then today, late in the day, Ella gave me more information about the two people that have approached the city asking for the right to use, I think, existing barns that were bigger than 900 square feet. And I sent something over to Ella that said, would you consider as a compromise to allow a structure which has been a pre-existing use on a lot for at least 3 years to be repurposed as a dwelling unit with a special permit and as an unprotected ADU up to a maximum of half the size of the principal dwelling. Because to me, the idea of replicating a principal dwelling like my house, 2,400 square feet, to build another 2,400 square foot ADU is sort of, I mean, it's not really an ADU. It's not an accessory to anything. It's the same size and the same volume and has a much larger footprint impact on the rest of the neighborhood. So in the spirit of compromise, I suggested, because I don't mind the idea of a neighbor repurposing a barn. I think 2,500 square feet is kind of excessive. And I don't know of a city that's gone that far. I've heard of some that are allowing up to 1,200 square feet with a special permit, et cetera. But I think that this is a compromise that allows people like the ones who approached Ella to be able to get some semblance of what they want. Maybe it's not the entire barn that they have. I haven't seen these properties or know where they are, but it seems to me that having no cap at all to go from 900 square feet, which is the state requirement, you have flexibility to go bigger, but why would you want to do that? Who does that affect? These are people obviously with money, because no one's going to build a 2,500 square foot ADU unless they have a considerable amount of money at this point. So it's not like to make affordable housing for anybody. And also to think in mind that these family arrangements of the mother saying, I want the rest of the family to come in, these arrangements are very temporal. Because when mom dies, the whole thing falls apart, and then you end up potentially with a landlord buying the main house, turning it into 3 units, and then taking the ADU and trying to maximize the size of that as well. So I just don't I don't want to overwhelm neighborhoods with too much density. With some people, they don't care how dense it gets. I do. But I think that the purpose of the state putting in a 900 square foot was they are trying to send a message that these are meant to be smaller, accessory units to a larger unit, and the principal dwelling is larger. But the idea of taking off the cap completely, I think, is overreach. And I think this is another one of those a list of Dover Amendment mandates from the state that's getting longer and longer and longer to the point where planning boards are going to be left with just ministerial duties because everything will be done by right, and you don't need to be sitting there this evening talking about whether to do things like this or not. So I hope you'll seriously consider the compromise. I put it out in good faith. Ella seemed to think it was a reasonable thing, but I think she wanted to hear it from the board. So I would be happy to comment further.
I appreciate that, Al. Thank you. Ella, did you want to say something?
I just want to say that I'd really like to speak for myself.
Sure.
What else? Chris, had his hand up.
Chris, did you want to jump in now, or do you want us to talk a bit first about Ella's memo?
Well, I was very much interested in hearing what Al had to say. I've heard him speak many times. I'm pretty much in favor of ADUs. I like the entire setup on it, as it has been. I think the special permit part of it to get a second dwelling on the same property is a wonderful idea, following the guidelines that are there, which is 40% open space, enough parking, this, that, and the other thing. Those particular regulations in basically zoning, whatever you want to call it, make a lot of sense to me personally, and it doesn't overwhelm a neighborhood. I think when you're talking about, the ability to create a ADU and then a same size house is a bit beyond that. It's quite a bit beyond that particular regulation. And it doesn't really make sense to me to not have some oversight in those particular build outs. There are neighborhoods that could support it well. And I think unless I'm vastly mistaken, that is particularly what the special permit system does. It allows them to come in, and if it all looks good, it goes through. And if it looks like it's, all screwy, it doesn't go through. I like our boards, you people in particular, to have enough say in all this. I appreciate the fact that you're there, and I want your input into this stuff rather than just say, yeah, go ahead and do what you want. Because that's kind of what I'm hearing here, and that doesn't sit well with me. So thank you very much for serving, gentlemen and ladies. Pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else want to speak now, or we'll do a little discussion, then open it up again? Okay.
1 second. One other thing, I'd really like it. I honestly am a little vague on all the implications of exactly what can happen. I'd love it if the actual thing we're talking about was spelled out a little better, because I've gotten fractions of it and have cross things when I hear it differently. If we can get that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly. All right, thank you. Yeah, and I think that is just what we're going to do next. So the purpose of this, we have to have these conversations in the public forum. So sometimes they appear, but it's a discussion item, not an action item, and it gives us a chance to unpack what we're talking about and figure out what we want to do about it. Good. You want to go first, or?
I'd be happy to. I have a few things, having read the memo thoroughly. I have a few clarifications I want to make. So if I go too long, you can cut me off and someone else. So I wanted.
Sorry, you don't want to hear all I go through.
Well, I think this is all covered by the memo, so I don't feel that there's more background or context needed. So it seems like it's thorough. So
I'm not sure that everyone here
Everybody might
has
not
read it,
have
or maybe not understand it completely. I think the audience would benefit from
okay.
in plain language, but you still have the right to go now if you'd like, because it might help.
I'm only the vice chair. You're the chair. No, I trust your judgment on that. So that's a good point.
Okay.
That everyone wouldn't have necessarily seen this. So go for it.
Thanks, Chair.
Yes.
Then I will defer. So
I'm adding the link to the memo in the chat.
okay.
So, in the past few months, 2 local homeowners have approached me about building out ADUs. One was a woman who, both of them are in the Greenfield grid within 91. One was a woman with a beautiful old home that was getting too much to maintain, and she wanted to convert her barn into an ADU and live in the ADU and rent out the primary for income. We discussed how she could do that within 900 square feet, but that just kind of carve up the barn. I don't know exactly what happened, but I think it just became too cumbersome and complicated from an architecture perspective to do do
They're taking off the limit of 900 feet and
You mind muting, Stephanie?
up to 2,500.
Can we mute it? Stephanie, would you mind muting, please?
Yeah.
Stephanie's going in. I can tell by the way she's on the phone.
I can't.
Thank you.
Okay. And then another gentleman who received a special permit a few years ago. He has also within the neighborhood, has a home that has 3 units in it. And he received a special permit approved by ZBA to convert an existing barn into a dwelling unit. And that was not as an ADU, it was under the multifamily regulation. Unfortunately, when that special permit has since lapsed, special permits lapsed last 2 years, he haven't exercised it. There are personal reasons why he didn't
It's
exercise.
gonna be a single family unit, but it becomes a multifamily because it becomes the fourth unit on this.
A fourth unit on one lot, exactly. So he approached me and wanted to get the same project permitted where his partner and kids would live. And due to a zoning amendment made about 18 months ago on the multifamily residential section, removing the section in italics about the 24 dwelling unit cap, when that was being discussed as part of that amendment, this all gets kind of complicated, but as part of that amendment, another line saying more than one building may be placed on a lot was also removed. And I watched the recordings of the planning board meeting, and I don't think that was the intent of that amendment. So when the gentleman asked if he could apply for the same special permit that he received 3 years ago, I said, you can't. Due to that amendment, you can't have two buildings on one lot that count as multifamily. So I felt we need to do or I want to do something to rectify that situation so that he can build out, he can convert this existing barn as he intended to do for his kids to live in. So one option would be just put that sentence back in and say more than one building may be placed on one lot under the multifamily residential.
And then he would have to go back and get a special permit.
And he would get a special permit. How it's defined is it's multifamily structure, dwelling unit, not use. So I think the spirit of what actually was happening was much more of an accessory. It was an existing structure that he wanted to convert into residential use. And so a cleaner way to reform the zoning to enable the same project that has already been permitted would be to, but he can't do that under ADU because currently there's a max of 900 square feet, which you can do by right, but you can't even seek a special permit for an ADU greater than that. So I told him, I'm sorry, there's no way for you to do what you had already been approved to do 3 years ago. So instead of putting back that sentence or proposing that we put back that sentence under multifamily, which I think we might want to do and consider, but I want to do that really carefully because I think there's opportunities for really thoughtfully designed multifamily in that have multiple buildings on one lot, like cottage clusters. I want to do that thoughtfully. So I figured, you know what, this is really an ADU. Especially because it's an existing structure, it's already been permitted, all of the impacts have already been considered and ZBA voted for it. Let's enable special permit for a larger accessory dwelling unit. So that's the proposal. So it currently, you can build an ADU by right. You just need to comply with the building code, of course, and that doesn't change in any way. And currently, you can build two 900 square foot ADUs on a lot. But he has kids, he wanted more than 900 square feet. So the proposal is to buy special permit, which is all publicly noticed, apply to be able to build a larger ADU, but it must be smaller than the primary dwelling unit. So that's the only change. To address some of the concerns, there's no changes to yards or height. So there's no change to density. So this gentleman could have built an addition on his existing house that was just as big. There's no increase in the square footage that you can build. It's just that you can house another family. For better or worse, ADUs haven't really been exercised, like this right for ADUs, kind of statewide. Some municipalities have had better success than others. I think, yeah, due to the cost of living, very few people are building new ADUs. It's really costly. So from my perspective, I see this as a way to convert existing structures, which there are a lot of lovely existing barns that if someone could move into or there could get some rental income, I think would be much better maintained. Otherwise, many of them are kind of becoming dilapidated because they sit there without any earnings or use. So, yeah, Mr. Norman and I had some emails back and forth, and I think depending on whether there are concerns about the proposal, I think there's different ways to target the proposal, to focus on existing structures only, or to reduce the cap of square footage. But I wasn't ready to propose that, but of course it's up for the board's deliberation.
Thank you.
George, your turn.
George, good. Thank you. And just to clarify, Elle, the second woman you said you spoke with isn't referenced in this memo, right?
That's right.
Okay. And in the first paragraph, you mentioned he was converting the existing barn into one residential unit, but the portion that was inadvertently removed was about 2 multifamily buildings on one lot, no longer allowed. But his second structure wouldn't be multifamily. So I wasn't clear why that was relevant.
Yeah, that's a great question. How his one extra unit was permitted was based on the materials around that special permit, was based on this language that more than one building can be on one lot. But I agree that could be interpreted in multiple ways, and that's why my fix wasn't about putting that language back in, because I really think this language is more about something like Green River Commons, which currently would not be able to be built because you couldn't have, Green River Commons has 2 buildings, one's 3-unit, one's 4-unit, I believe. So that's a multifamily with more than one building on one lot. This was an interpretation, and I think there's some precedent for that. But instead of allowing for kind of different ways of interpreting it, I thought ADU was better. Yeah.
Because what jumped out at me from this memo was less concern about this particular incident, because I didn't know about the second person you mentioned, know about this barn conversion phenomenon you're citing. And I always want to be careful that we're not changing zoning in a reactive way to a particular case, that we're proactive. And as you pointed out in the third paragraph, removing the cap on the number of multifamily was not intended. It was not intended to limit the number of buildings on a lot. So clearly this was a mistake in zoning change that feels like we could correct if it wouldn't have allowed Green River Commons. Mm-hmm. So that to me is, wow, that's the red flag that we shouldn't correct, possibly correct in the future. That's the thing we should, correct sooner rather than later. So that was the thing that jumped out to me about this memo. That's the thing that was concerning. We made a mistake that sometimes happens because there's so many moving parts and elements that they can get, something can get mixed in, and a phrase gets not recognized as the implications. So if something wasn't intended and could prevent something that we think is a good as far as planning, then I think that would be something I would think we want to say, let's correct that quickly. Because that doesn't seem like there's a debate. So that was the thing that jumped out to me as the low-hanging fruit here. So that was one thing. I do share the concern about when I saw the not large and gross area, then the principal dwelling, it seemed like, because I remember it originally was up to a third, as I recall, the original ADU language. Did anyone else go that far back? I think it was.
Greenfields ADU?
Yeah, but it's up to a third of the the original, the principal dwelling.
One half, George.
I think it was a third.
The law
Originally.
now says one half.
Okay. We may disagree on that, Al. But
I'm looking, George, I'm looking at the language right now.
I'm talking about the original, but, okay.
Well,
But,
I'm talking about what's on the books now.
No, I'm talking about the original proposal when it first came.
Back in 2012 or something.
Yeah, yeah. The idea of it being, because it's meant, one of the guidelines was subsidiary to the principal dwelling. So obviously if it's the same size, it's, another house. I do get the idea of, the value to the community of reusing existing structures so they don't fall into disrepair. That to me is something that, has some value. But that's different than just saying this for any structure. So someone could just build a brand new thing that was, significantly larger. So those are my thoughts. The one, the first thing that jumped out at me wasn't addressing this ADU question. It was correcting this mistake so that something like Green River Common could be done, replicated. And the other is just be careful about enlarging the size too much or be careful about not applying it to non-existing structures.
George.
Thanks. That's it for me. Thank you.
Is there any way we can keep these things separate? I mean, ADUs, we did a lot of work on ADUs, and I don't think we should change anything with regards to sizes and a lot of numbers allowed or anything. If it's an existing building on an existing lot, the homeowner should be able to do pretty much what they want to within the guidelines of their setbacks and heights and restrictions. So if someone wants to turn a barn into a residence, they should be able to do that and not call it an ADU. Because it's their property and it's their existing building. So couldn't we just fix that in your line about the multifamily thing? Isn't that really the way to, and just keep them separate? Don't call it an ADU. Because it's not what we defined as an ADU. It's an existing building that someone wants to turn into a house. That's their prerogative. And that's not a state mandated thing or by right thing. It's an existing building that's already there. So they're not building anything new. To me, ADUs were new things. Someone was sticking something on a piece of property that wasn't there to build an accessory dwelling unit for something new. It was not turning an existing structure into something else, because they should be able to do that anyway. Well, I'm leaning towards fixing and I thought there was a lot of pushback to us about having multiple buildings on a lot. There was a big density push from the floor, as I remember. Too much density, too much density, too much density. So I don't know if that was necessarily a mistake as much as it was succumbing to pressures of trying not to build, because you and I sure was looking at putting as much as we could on a lot. If we could get 75 units on a lot, we wanted to build 75 units on that lot. But there was all this about building that. So I think that line was put in there intentionally, but with the unanticipated consequences, is that the right word to use? But I'm all for allowing someone to have what they want on their property. If building my barn out turns me into a multifamily on a lot, then so be it. That's what it turns me into. But that should be there. Not an ADU. Not an ADU. It's a multifamily. They're deciding to build on their property.
I agree really with both George and with you, Victor, except for your last comment. But there's all explained. But I think we should separate. I'm not a big fan of changing the ADU. I think it was controversial. We resolved it. There's an irony here to me, though, which is that the ADU law really was not that relevant to us since we already have, as of right, two-family zoning. So we're not going to really see a lot of impact from this law here in this town because we can already do it. Thing we would like to be able to do is take care of actually kinds of situations that do occur in this town, which are these old structures. Those we would like to step in and preserve and create housing. ADU law, the way it's designed, actually isn't all that well targeted for that property because of the size of these structures. So I think we should do something to allow these structures to be fixed. And maybe in the way Al suggested, whatever it is, taking advantage of the fact that they already exist, they're already grandfathered in. Let's not mess with the ADU thing, but let's try to make what I think is a legitimate use of an ADU, because I don't believe it was just new construction. It's sort of everything. It includes garages and taking care of and turning them. So that is a legitimate use of the ADU, and I think the purpose of the ADU law was to do conversions of garages and barns, but really they're too big, and the way they set it up, it's not that conducive to it. So I think we should try to design something that does work for it, for those kinds of structures. However, I think we got to go back and fix this, because I do not believe there was any intent to change the rules around how many structures can be on a lot. I was part of those deliberations. I never knew that's what we were doing. I didn't believe that we had any discussion about it. So I don't believe you'll find anywhere in the minutes a focus on removing that language. We never talked about it. So if anybody thinks there was a reason we did it, well, you're making that up because we didn't discuss it truthfully. So I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem. It's a good tool. We've already seen it used. We should fix it. But if you think there's ways to fix it that are a little bit bigger, we should do it right. But I think we should pronto fix that. Let's not mess with the ADU thing. And let's come up with something that allows us to deal with these larger barns and properties. And because I don't know that the current ADU really is all that, it's half of them aren't going to fit. We've already seen it. So that's my thought. So I would not do something like ADUs. I would definitely do something to fix this problem, which I think is inadvertent. But I think we have a third issue, which is how to deal with these larger structures that are more than 900 feet that we want to. Why should you say, fix up half the barn? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
One point of clarification, I think the property that we're talking about happens to be a 3-family with a barn, which would lead to it being a 4-family, which would make it multifamily. If you had a 1-family or a 2-family and a barn, this multifamily pick would not allow you to develop that barn because it would still not be enough units to qualify as a multifamily. So it does not solve, it only solves the rare situation where you have a 3-family and a barn. I think usually it's a 1-family and a barn, maybe sometimes it's 2-family and a barn. Just want to point that out. So that's not the perfect fix in every circumstance, although it does solve this one situation. I think that the intent of ADU is primarily focused on existing structures. And there's 3 types of ADUs according to the state when they were going through this. One is an internal ADU where you take an existing unit and divide it into multiple units within the existing envelope. Another is an attached ADU where you kind of bolt on a unit to an existing structure. And a third is the detached ADU. And I think that the detached is the rarest, especially in a place like Greenfield, as they're the most expensive to build. And I think the intent is really, I mean, more often than not, it's a unit above a garage, it's a basement unit, and it's something within an existing building envelope. Or maybe there's a small addition to add a stair or whatever, to comply with code. So I think that the ADU rule should be adjusted to accommodate existing structures. I think that was the original spirit of the rule, and it seems to be the most common use case for ADUs in Greenfield. And it seems apparently we're not allowed to do them in the most logical and commonplace situations.
I guess as I remember the conversations, the big thing about the ADUs was, again, density. All of a sudden, you're going to have backyards with all these buildings put in. So I saw the concern as new ADUs being put on existing lots, and we're now creating problems. If there's an existing building there should be no complaints from anybody about density. So we really shouldn't care how big the building is as far as the residents, because it's an existing building. So if you're saying that I own a house and I have a barn, and I live in my house, I should be able to turn that barn into an ADU of any size because the building is already there. So it's not creating a density problem or a crowding problem or any sort of problems. So if that's the direction, I mean, that's not the things I heard most of it are, again, crowded. Changing the layout of the neighborhood, or all these new buildings being stuck in all these backyards. That's the way it sounded to me as I recall. But again, I'm with you. If it's an existing building and someone wants to turn it into an ADU, they should be able to do whatever they want with the size of that building to turn it into an ADU. That's what we have to call it.
I'll just point out, as far as density, it's not just the building. It's people living in the building. Right? So if you have an unoccupied garage, it's not the same if it's turned into a home. Right. But it's people living there.
This is a driveway already and the space already, so
I'm
the people are
just
just in the
responding.
building.
That some of the density issues people have expressed, concerns they expressed, is that having more people live on a property. So that's the kind of density issue I think people have expressed.
It's true. Sure. You don't have to.
Not right now.
Anything you want to add there? That's
Can I
fine.
ask, this is great conversation, and I am hearing that the term ADU, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of history around it. I want to be clear that currently, if you have a home that you live in and you have a garage that you want to put your 30-year-old son in, you cannot do that.
You can do it, but not more than 900 square feet.
If it's more, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah. So what does the board think about, taking this, but only applying it to existing buildings? So the only change would be if you have an existing building greater than, an existing accessory structure greater than 900 square feet, you could convert it to residential use by special permit.
I'm fine with that.
And I think Al suggested, because then you have to, like, what does existing mean? So Al's suggestion was 3 years. You can't just build it and then say, oh, it's there. And
Yeah.
which that makes sense that there's a time component to that.
Mhm.
What about the idea? So this, like, some of these barns are 2 levels. They might make good 2-unit buildings. What if, and I'm just trying to clarify, if you had, let's call it a 1,200 square foot barn, you could either, if we were to change it in this way, get a special permit and turn it into 1 unit.
Mhm.
Or could you turn it into 2 ADUs, one of which is unprotected, but they're both under the 900 square foot rule?
That would be the intention.
Under the current rule. So you could now turn it into a 2-family, which is even denser, but you're not allowed to turn it into a 1-family under the current rules.
Good point. You might want to make that again.
And I'll point out, some barns could be larger than the primary dwelling.
But they've been there for our whole lifetimes.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yes, but that's
I'm just saying a garage is different necessarily than a barn.
in a barn is, there's also, like, I guess you would utilize the floor area as opposed to the volume. It's just a big open space and you want to put in a floor plate, maybe double the square footage. But does that matter? I guess that wouldn't be, if we didn't have, so that would be the reason to not have a cap. I guess for one thing, you might have a pre-existing structure that is larger than the principal structure to begin with. Or maybe you need to do some, you want to add a level inside because it makes sense to cut it into 2 levels, and that tips it over the line. So should there be, is it relevant to have a cap at all? Or is it just, is the real crux of it that it is pre-existing or not?
To me, this is just making me think that the main point of this discussion is this sentence that was deleted, more than one building may be placed on one lot.
The reason I think that doesn't solve it is that only applied to multifamily.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you would have had to already had 3 in order and then maybe get a 4th. Otherwise, because having this, your second unit doesn't get you a multifamily.
It doesn't help, but this is a separate problem, however,
Yeah,
for other
for sure.
kinds of developers. But for ADUs, it's not that.
There's a blanket clause that says you cannot have more than one building on a lot, just under any circumstance. And this was what was deleted was supposed to say, well, you can, but only if it's a multifamily, otherwise you can't ever. And so, maybe there's something to be said about thinking whether or not it's relevant to have multiple buildings for other uses. I mean, I think that's why I feel like I agree with Ella that it's maybe more complicated. We just throw it back in there. Maybe we want to think that through a little bit more. Yeah. It's one of those things we've talked about where it might be a blind spot. It might be an opportunity to make other things better and clearer. And so if we're fixing something, we should focus the fix as much as possible and avoid unintended consequences. So if the language literally says you're allowed to turn a barn into a unit, like that's the most precise thing we could do.
Well, what helps them now with this situation? Because we know we have another thing that we have to resolve, but how do we move this one along? I mean, I like the approach here. Does it have to be called an ADU though? I mean, is this an ADU or is this just sort of what's the provision? Is there another provision to do it under? not the ADU, or is it really the ADU is the only place to kind of make this change in order to deal with barns and larger structures?
I couldn't find, we could get creative and say 2-family and 3-family can be in more than one building. So you can have duplexes by right, but they have to be in the same building. So we could say you could have a duplex, and that's actually what Northampton says. You can have duplex, you can be in the same building or be in 2 buildings on one lot. That would be a fix. There's no really clear way of doing that in our zoning code, but we could, like, in terms of policy principle, we could do that. This was a narrower, like, text amendment, but we certainly could if that's the goal.
That seems to be more the direction of the conversation to me, that because we're debating about size. Oh, what if the theoretical barn conversion is larger than the house? Or, I mean,
None of them feel like ADU in some way.
maybe it's not quite the spirit of an ADU if it's too big. And I think maybe the conversation is going more towards dwelling units on one lot, and not necessarily which one is the main one. I'm not sure if that makes sense to other people.
You could do a dwelling unit on one lot and then have a division in there about existing dwellings.
It has to be an existing building being converted. You can't just buy a lot and then stick another house on the back. That's not, we're trying not to do that.
Well, that's the question.
Trying to avoid that.
Whether that's good or bad.
It would be, so you can currently have a duplex, let's say triplex even. So you can currently have 3 units stacked on top of each other. We could decide we want to allow, you can have 2 stacked up on each other and 1 detached. You can do that right now, but that detached has to be 900 square feet. But it sounds like from this discussion, no, actually we want that to be larger. Because I didn't totally think through that option. It feels a little bit more complicated, but we certainly could.
For what it's worth, you can just put the second volume behind the big building and attach it with like a roof or something. And it becomes one structure, and it's a 3-family. So a lot of this it's pretty arbitrary when you realize all you do is like link them together, and then now you have to put a sprinkler system. You don't have to put a sprinkler system, or it's a multifamily, it's not a multifamily. The real governance.
So that one on High Street, it's one property.
If they have a frame.
Yeah.
The governor of density on a site is the lot coverage and the parking requirements and all these other things that prevent, you could do one, I mean, would people rather have 3 individual buildings or one building that covers the entire lot into the maximum density possible? Do we really have a preference? We really know what we're controlling there. I think the lot coverage is the most just generalized way to control how much just overall building mass and density there is in the neighborhood. That's what we choose to calibrate to determine the character of a neighborhood.
Jeff, can I make a point of information, Jeff?
Sure.
Today in the Senate, they're debating, they may be done by now, Senate 3228, which is a massive housing bill. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look at it. I shared some of it that I read. Look at section 66. What the state is doing, or maybe doing, is to make duplexes as by right in a single family zone. So anything that a single family can do, you can have 2. You could add a couple of duplexes on that lot with no special permit needed. This is part of their latest bill. But I also wanted to correct for the record that when you were first discussing ADUs, I had a long conversation with Eric Twarwag, and I actually brought it in testimony to the board then, that you don't, that you are not under a requirement to have any unprotected ADUs. A number of towns have decided we're going to have one ADU per lot. Now that's the language that George was talking about, but you don't have that now. You say it said in your zoning ordinance one ADU per lot, but what you've actually got is one protected and one unprotected. So you have 2 ADUs per lot that are allowed. And I think the question is, how many more do you want to make? I told this board at the time, I think this was at least a year ago, why don't you consider one ADU per lot? That's truly what I thought that sentence should mean, but it hasn't been interpreted that way because you're here talking about protected and unprotected units. But I do think that there are, I still think the idea of reuse is attractive. I've had people say to me, "Are you against me fixing up my barn?" And I've said, "No, I'm not against that at all. It's a pre-existing use, but it needs to be a pre-existing use." So I think this discussion will be further informed over the next, few weeks once you see what the Senate and the House actually agreed to on this major bill, and what they say about, because some of the planners are upset. Jeff Lacey from Conway was very upset about what they're doing with duplexes by right. So there's a lot more information right hitting the table now that you probably haven't even had a chance to look at, which is understandable. But I hope you will preserve the idea of dealing with providing some mechanism for people who want to reuse these buildings which aren't used. I agree with several of you have said that. I agree with that, and I hope you'll move towards that. And it's great to have a conversation on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Sure.
Yeah, I'll respectfully disagree with you, Jeff, about the idea that the detached ADU was specifically intended for reuse of existing structures. I think it was also intended for, creating new structures.
Yeah.
And so I think we got to be careful because we don't want to tweak the ADU ordinance because it applies to so many situations. And we have a situation where you have barns. We're talking about large lots, we're talking, and so we don't want to, we just got to be careful, I think. And I think for more dense situations, smaller lot sizes, having the 900-foot thing is good. And I think finding a way to address this, barn reuse issue, which, we have 2 examples coming up, is a good one. And with the nature of this, fairly rural area, it's one that there'll be other examples. But if we can have some way to address it discreetly, separate from the ADU, I think that would be powerful.
The site is very much in the urban core of Greenville. There are significant accessory structures already and those are the barns we're talking about. We're not talking about rural settings. And so
Barn might have actually been misleading.
Yeah, it's just a
Care adjust.
Yeah, it's an accessory structure. It's a big accessory structure.
2-level. Yeah. So
it's not a hay barn.
From a density standpoint, you can currently build an 1,800 square foot accessory structure right now. It's a combination of a protected and an unprotected ADU. So if that were the recourse, they'd have an even larger building than if they could just turn their 13 or 12 or whatever it is, 100 square foot barn into a single unit. I mean, this allows for lower density ADUs than you might be led to build if you stuck to the current rules.
And they can't do that on this existing site, put 2 units in because that would become 5 units.
They could put 2 units. So that's they could put 2 ADUs into the accessory structure, one 900 square feet and one unprotected and get a special permit for that. They could do that, but they have kids and they want more than 900 square feet.
They want a larger dwelling unit.
Yeah.
It costs more and to do 2 kitchens, 2 everything.
Yeah.
Sense. Okay.
I feel like we have a variety of opinions. I mean, they're all thoughtful. It's a multifaceted issue.
But I think we've all gone through the ADU discussion once too many times, and I think don't want to go through this whole thing again. And there's certain provisions about it that I think people are getting slowly comfortable with, unless just sort of let them work their way through. But we do have this problem that we've got these structures that are kind of ideal for ADU, but then yet the legislation doesn't really work for them. So I think we do have to fix it. And but I still would like us to solve this multifamily thing that we've changed.
Yeah.
Can we just say new construction is limited to this, existing construction is limited to that in the ADU law? And say that's the answer. If it's a new construction, 900 square feet is the most you can do. If it's an existing conversion, you can go up to, half the existing building. So there's a threshold still. They can't get 5 ADU. We can't do it every, two. But maybe it's something like that.
I guess one question for the group is, are there any other, just if we're trying to solve for these 2 or 1 situations, are there any other mechanisms we can think of? Because we could summarize, all right, here are the choices in front of us. Do we want to take action on that or not? Do we want to take action on that or not? And does that leave us with a solution to the short-term problem or the longer-term problem?
I'd like to fix it by fixing one thing instead of several things in the codes. If we can modify, and I don't like messing with the ADU any more than you do, but if we can modify the ADU to where it says, it says new construction, existing buildings, then we're just fixing one section of the code. And that takes, you don't have to worry about the multifamily being fixed now because it's not really falling into that category. It's staying with the ADU, so the single person can put another building on. It just seems to be cleaner, but we need to agree on what we think that cap is for size, right? That's really the thing. Yeah.
So going back to Ella's memo, Ella, you laid out a couple different options. One was the changing the accessory dwelling unit language. And it seems in the group to me, if anyone disagrees, you can correct me. It seems like there's a feeling that that's not the direction we would want to go. But the first option in your memo would be looking at the multifamily dwelling section again. And I wonder if maybe that could be the direction.
But the problem was if you had a single family and a barn, you didn't fall under multifamily. You had to have at least 3 units and adding a 4th.
I see.
It's a very important
That
issue.
was-
So that was solve the 2 cases that are.
Right.
Okay.
That's something we need to fix for sure, because if we have an apartment complex or whatever that property is you mentioned. Yeah, we need to fix it, but it doesn't fix this.
I
Okay.
mean, one could argue that this is more important. I think you started this way, George. That's more important actually than the other. And so, and I kind of tend to agree with that. I think we need to fix that. But we do have these 2 issues that have come forward about larger structures. And I think fixing this won't help us with that.
Oh, right. I think fixing the multifamily is easy. She said, put the line back in. You'd be allowed more than one on lots. That takes care of multifamily.
Could be.
That could be denied.
Right.
But it doesn't,
But doesn't solve our people trying to build these projects. So that goes back to the ADU. I guess we're going to have to fix 2 of them, but hoping not to, leave a new construction and existing building and differentiate.
What with the new construction, you could have, a larger footprint with new construction or a bigger square footage. Is that done inside the ADU section? Is that the only place to do it, or you do it somewhere else?
To have a second building
To have
that's
more-
new.
I think
So you have, well, you go ahead.
Well, we're going to limit a new constructed ADU to 900 square feet, because that solves the density thing. You're not going to build these big ones on these local lots. So that should stay in place. I think that was a good idea. It's like I said, it's the existing building. If you're going to turn it into something, how do we limit that? And
But you're suggesting change the ADU provision in that one
just
place.
adding that one thing. New construction is limited to this. Existing buildings is limited to this. And that would fix the ADU, I think. And putting that line back in the multifamily fixes the multifamily, I think.
is there a definition of principal building? I didn't see it.
Primary.
Primary?
I think
You could build a larger building and then call that the primary, and the existing building could be the ADU. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think in the state law, the definition.
All right, enough
accessory-
devil's advocate.
I think the definition of accessory has things that defers to
It's okay.
the primary. I think we definitely could just add existing structure to this proposed amendment. So that anything greater than 900 square feet would have had to already been in existence.
Do it.
But we would limit it, what would we limit it to? In other words, if we're going back to the ADU, let's say it's a 2,000 square foot building, you're going to be able to build one that's 1,200 square feet and the other one is 900 square feet. Or how do we deal
So
with
if
that?
they were building something new, it would only be 900 square feet. If it was existing
It could be
as
whatever size
proposed,
it-
it
yep.
could be, as currently proposed, it'd have to be smaller than the primary
I think that's
and
reasonable.
existing.
In square footage?
In square footage.
The
Gross floor.
dwelling piece of it would have to be smaller than the thing. So you could have a big empty attic or a back room
Or a garage that's.
like garage underneath it or something.
I think that one of the concerns that people had was the idea of having a second house next to an existing house.
Right.
That's what it seemed to suggest it was allowing. So I think the limit it's existing under those circumstances makes it not possible to just replicate your house right next to you.
May I speak? I've been quietly listening and thank you for allowing me to do so. I can't resist, and I hope I'm wrong, and I probably am, but all the discussion about one ADU and maybe another one and a lot of smart stuff hitting the table here. But for example, I'm here because I'm involved in a situation where there's going to be a build out or pending, as has been, as I talked about earlier, of something north of 30 complete full housing development environments. Because they haven't been defined as well as they might be, I'll leave it at that. But when you guys talk about ADUs, you're talking about a barn somewhere that's already existing. And I think you're smart to talk about the same issues. It's either there or it's not. It's one way or the other. Cool. But what if you were sitting and you had at least two separate reasons to be concerned about having something happening within the boundaries of our home city, Greenfield, about to build 30 completely independent buildings with whatever might be attached to them, and say 2 miles away, building another arena of the same ilk that might have another 225 completely separate homes, or whatever you want to call the lingo of it, in place, all of whom would beg the same questions about the ADUs, which you guys are talking about generally in light of a single person or somebody with one or two houses somewhere. Think about it if that was 30 houses somewhere and they aren't built yet. So they aren't even dug yet. So I can't help but bring that up.
That's a valid point, but I think they address it. You still have requirements on the lot size. So
Agreed.
you can't build an ADU that's not compliant with your lot size. So if you can't fit it, it can't be built.
Yeah.
So
I agree and I hear you.
there's no way around that.
Yeah, agreed. But the size of the ADU issue, as I sit here,
Understood. I know you're referring to the other.
big, dude.
Thank you. So I think we should wrap up and decide what we're going to do. Or maybe we don't know what we're going to do yet. We'll talk about it later.
Wait, I'm kind of distracted. Could you mute
Watching it all
the
day, all this way.
They're both unmuted and distracting. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Chris, could you please mute?
Bill, I
Or
can do it.
Well, maybe we should take Hal's advice and wait to see what the state's going to tell us we have to do.
Well, then,
And respond.
I'd be happy to wait till next month.
I don't think that the state is- I mean, who knows what is actually going to happen with that, or whether or not that is a perfect solution to this problem, or whether or not we're going to have to, if the state does something new, we'll then have to go through some process to codify it in our zoning. It'll take 6 months to a year to get around to it. We have development proposals on the table right now. People who want to build housing units in existing barns, one of which had a special permit before and just didn't have a chance to build it yet. And it was okay then, and now it's not okay. So like, I think that, do we want to solve this immediate problem or not now? And if we don't want to, if we'd rather not, like, because we don't like the only solutions available, then we can kind of move on to the next agenda item. I think it's worth trying to solve the existing problem with the most precise change possible.
Just the changes.
So I would suggest that we introduce the language to allow for the reuse of pre-existing structures as ADUs without a size limitation, as long as we're within the existing footprint structure and GFA of the existing structure. I'm not sure it matters if it's bigger than the existing building or not, because it already was there.
We're there.
I don't think that's necessary. That would solve the problem for these immediate, I mean, we could probably do an analysis to see how many other barns there are that would run into the same problem, but I don't think we should have a rule that prohibits people from being able to do that.
Well, we need to operationally define, as was referenced, pre-existing,
Yeah, right.
how long it has been existing. And I don't know that I'm comfortable suggesting that something could end up being larger than the principal dwelling, because then that essentially becomes the principal.
But it is, and so the structure was already larger. You just
No,
can't-
but I mean the residential portion, if that entirety becomes residential,
Yeah, okay.
then that becomes the principal.
So that's a
dwelling.
variable. We could cap it at just below the principal to keep it subsidiary, even if the structure is large. I mean, I think we could put that on the table as a possibility. I'd be willing to compromise on that one probably. I don't think that messes up.
You know, I heard thrown around half the size of the principal dwelling or
That-
something. I
I
was,
mean, that's smaller, half the size is often less than 900 square feet.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't, most buildings in town are not. And just to be clear, the principal structure means the entirety of the principal structure, not like one of the units or something within that building, right? That's how we understand it. But usually the barn is smaller than the house. I don't know of one that's larger than the house at the moment, off the top of my head. So that's a good thing to decide whether or not we want to insert.
If you say up to up to the principal building. So it can't exceed the principal building.
That's what's in the draft language, is not larger in gross floor area than the principal dwelling.
It sounds like it's Ella's proposal, but just restricted to existing.
Correct.
Is that legal? Is that legal to restrict use to what's already existing at the time something is passed? Is that done?
It's a change of use.
Change of use.
Since it's currently an accessory barn and you're making a dwelling unit, it
Okay.
has to follow existing rules at that time. So you're right that it's not always,
I just don't remember reading anything like that, any language like that. It's just not familiar to me, but maybe, I mean, I'm not an
I
expert.
think that what you're restricting is, the use as an ADU, and that can only be
Right.
within the existing. I'll double check. The legality of that, but I don't see the reason why. It's within our police powers to regulate dimensions.
oh, since you have two examples, would it be possible to pass along to the board? Don't have to get into address or ownership. Just what are the dimensions of the principal dwellings and of the barns we're talking? It would just help for me to get a picture of what we're talking about. Because, is that something you could share?
I tried to do that quickly. I don't have the floor plans of the accessory structures. And because they're not residential use, I couldn't find them on the property cards. So I can try.
Well, the first one went through that process already.
Right, so I have a site plan, but I couldn't actually find the square footage in the application materials. And they didn't ever pull a building from it, so I can certainly show images or estimate.
Okay, thanks. I'm just trying to be more informed, to make an informed decision.
One is like literally a barn, and it is near downtown, and the other, I mean, it looks like a barn, has steam burl.
No, I'm talking about dimensions. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get a picture of what
They're
we're
both
talking.
more than one story.
Okay, I'm trying to get a picture of what the structure, the existing ancillary structure is in relation to the principal building.
Yep.
I'm just trying to picture this and get examples here.
So what would, the process to proceed, if we were to decide we want to go down a particular road, we need to do that at the next meeting without an action. So we're just really talking conceptually stuff, or are we voting on a specific thing?
We're not voting now because it's not an action item.
That's what I'm, okay.
maybe a version of that question is, do we need to have, to what degree do we have to specify what we would maybe want to take action on next time? Or can we just say we want to take an action on this topic
I
next
would do
time?
that,
Okay, and then we get some more information,
and then put together a proposal for consideration at the next meeting.
and then we could act on that at that time. So it doesn't slow us down, make it.
I think doing something to solve this until these buildings can be renovated would be a useful thing to do. And then we need to spend some time on the other.
Okay. So, is that okay? Is it a place to stop on this one? Yep. You have to wait till next time to vote on it, regardless.
So we'll put an action item on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, we'll have more thinking. We'll have another round of people can comment, of course, again, and respond to our further research.
And I will say, hearing that there was a second comparable situation helps me to see this as kind of a trend rather than a singularity.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm so wary of.
Yeah.
You have one situation and say, oh, let's change, the broad zoning ordinance based on a particular situation or something like that, or to meet a particular person's needs. I'm sensitive to someone wanting to do something, but I don't want to change, a knee-jerk reaction to change something to meet someone's.
And I understand that this is what you're talking about now. This is a thing that I think is relatively
We're gonna be
common.
seeing this.
I was aware that there were a couple proposals. I also don't know the details, but just living here, I know there's a lot of situations in my neighborhood too. So, okay, moving on.
We love this game.
Do we want to do B? That's the chief.
Yes, that was what I was going to do. So, Chief Strahan, presentation regarding the traffic circulation pattern at School Street and David Street.
Oh. Sorry. Get part of the board.
Thank you for the release. And everything else.
Of course.
Have a good evening.
Glad you participated.
Just give a couple and print them back there. I didn't realize it was so big.
Thank you.
We're going to pull up the Google Maps too, just to,
Thank you.
for context.
Choked.
This way, Main Street, yeah, that's how we did.
Another one here. So
There we go.
So,
Thanks again.
thank you.
Okay, have a good
Thank
night.
you. So my
Take care
name
now.
is Bob Strand. I'm the fire chief and emergency management director for the city of Greenfield. And a quick background of why this is coming forward and how we got here. So we were having a staff meeting and we always talk about challenges within the fire department and some of the things that come up once in a while. And one of the captains said, we're really having a challenge getting down Davis Street or getting to the area of the neighborhood past the first block of Davis Street. We've had a couple fires there and we've had to go around, and we've got two big projects. One is complete, being Jaduke on one side of that street, and the other big project being the Wilson's project. And so access is, in a large building like that, the quicker and simpler access to those buildings is pretty important to the fire department. And so when we get a call to Davis Street or that area right now, we have two options. We can go against traffic and take a left-hand turn onto School Street, right? Because it's not a straight shot over. You actually have to go against the oncoming traffic it's a short little bit, but you still have to do
That's
that.
where you're not really supposed to take a left. That one.
Well, I remember that there used to be a no left-hand turn signal sign there. I'm not sure if it's still there, but you actually go against traffic when you're trying to make that little scoot, if you will. And then the other option is to go and hit Ames Street and come in that way, which puts about 30 seconds to a minute, which doesn't sound like a big deal. In my world, that's a big deal, especially with two of the big Paramount buildings in town. So when it was brought to me by my officers, I told them that I'll bring it forward to the town, but I probably have a better luck of changing the Green River's direction. The streets changed. So I didn't think it was going to take the traction that it did, but it went to the DPW, it went to the police department, and it's gone to some other groups within the town. And everybody said, that kind of makes a little bit more sense to do it that way. There are advantages of doing this. One of them is now Davis Street would turn to a complete north to south from south to north, from Main Street all the way to Silver Street, which gives us emergency traffic another full corridor, if you will, that goes from Main Street to Silver Street. And if you notice that in like our downtown, that big core area between Main and Silver, it's kind of like a grid area. So it gives us more flexibility for response and lessens the response time in some of the areas. Where School Street doesn't do that. Like even if we
Right.
turned a left onto School Street, we still have to take a left to get to
Right.
Davis Street.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. Now, when I talked to the mayor about this, her big concern was transparency, right? She wants to make sure that if the city makes a decision on changing, making a big move like this, that everybody has a chance to weigh in, that planning gets to weigh in, that the Public Safety Commission gets to weigh in, that city council gets to weigh in, and everybody can see what the overall thoughts are with it. Public Safety did a favorable recommendation on making the change. There was one commissioner that spoke up and said that the transition period may be challenging for people. So people know it as you can't go down that street now, but you can go down School Street. So there is an adjustment period, but that could happen any time. And so the proposal that we've been putting forward is that from Main to Ames, direction of Davis Street now goes northbound, and School Street from Ames,
It's only to Ames on both of these.
only to Ames. Because once you get there, then we have access to whatever. One of the things that we haven't received yet is the economic development team is going to be reaching out to the two businesses, and especially the Wilsons block, to just make sure that that's not going to impede with any deliveries or anything that they have for an overall scope, which I don't think it will. But I definitely believe that it will improve public safety access for us to not only those two crucial buildings, but everything that sits down in the little hole, the little dip down in Davis Street, which we've had within the last, few years. We've had two fires in that one little section. One of them wasn't that big of a deal when we were on the other side of Main Street and we were able just to cut down. This one we have to loop around to get to, and it's been a challenge.
So currently, these two blocks are one way, but in the opposite direction.
That is correct.
Just want to flip them.
That's it.
Got it. And beyond that, north of that, they're both
Yeah.
two-way.
Yeah. And so you take Davis Street right now, it comes onto Main Street, and during the daytime, you can only take a right-hand turn. Right. But where School Street right now, if that was flipped, you're only going to be able to take a right-hand turn anyways, because you're not going to be able to. So it will always be a right.
So it would be a right turn off school.
Yeah.
It's ironic to me because the other day I was driving down here and I thought you could take a left onto School. I don't know why I thought that, because you can't. And I did.
Everybody does.
And then the police officer that was right next to, when I pulled it, thought I should realize that I'm not supposed to do that. And I said, I really did not know you could not do that. And I'm looking at it, I'm saying, how did I not know that? It's so obvious you can't do that.
Yeah.
But I did. And he nicely, he just said, okay, don't do it again.
Yeah. So the challenge with that is it's no more than 10 feet at the most, but that 10 feet, you actually have to go
There's a lot
against
going on.
traffic
Yeah.
to make the left.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because there's a lot going on there when I took that left,
Yeah.
which you're not supposed to take, and I understand where you're not supposed to. But so coming the other way, you won't be able to take a left because that would be a mess.
You couldn't take a left.
And
It's
is there
impossible.
value, does that street become useful coming down? Does anybody want to take a right there? Does anybody want to use the street that way? I'm just.
Which street are you talking?
School Street.
Would anyone want to go?
Up School to take a right. I mean, is this a useful street in that?
I don't know. I know for us coming the other way, besides the fact that you have to go against the traffic a little bit to take that left, that is a very, very narrow street. And our trucks do, we fit, but wintertime it gets tight and.
But you can take School all the way. So it is
Yeah.
a way to get into the
Yeah.
downtown and then take a right into
Yeah.
downtown. So that street is still useful.
Exactly.
It's just narrow, but it's useful.
Exactly.
So I have a question, and it's okay if you don't know, but it's more of a DPW question about the practicalities of when the one-way would start, when Davis would start on the northern end being
Doesn't affect anything past Ames Street.
Ames Street.
It's two ways.
okay, so,
Once you
but,
hit Ames Street, it's two ways.
oh, okay.
And then this
Oh, I see.
Ames is two ways.
Ames is two ways.
two ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. Ames is two ways, but
It's one way here.
yeah,
cannot
it's
go
one
down.
way here and it's two way here.
You
Okay.
can't go.
Yeah.
On Google.
Yeah, it's
Map makes it look like
it's
it,
wrong on Google.
So
Yeah.
it's one way from Federal Street
right.
To school.
to school.
Okay.
It was during COVID, that whole neighborhood, that street was,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, we did turn around some streets. I don't remember the exact layout, but there was some changes of streets to accommodate outside dining and stuff at the hangar. And so they did change some of the stuff temporarily. But yeah, it's the only one-way part is from Federal to Ames. Ames is actually two-way.
Yeah, so that Google, just ignore Google. That's very misleading.
Is it anticipated that if you're coming eastbound on Main Street, you would be able to take then a left onto Davis?
Yes.
But anyone will be able, not just
Yeah.
you can do what you want.
Yeah.
But flip on this.
I'm gonna bring up
Sorry.
the mapping.
But
I just wanna double check that.
because that would, I think, be a benefit for a lot of.
Yeah, the street should be used.
I might have that wrong on
Yeah.
Ames Street. Give me one second.
Really? Because I thought I remembered,
I'm
I
gonna
think
check.
you're right. And I think there's parking on both sides because I think I remember taking a,
I mean, if you-
I parked on both sides of Ames. So
That's how
yeah,
it is now.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
That definitely.
I know for a short time, yes.
Yeah, it's
So
just
I was right.
confusing the
I
way
just-
that the
yeah.
printout is and it's.
But you think you would be able to,
It's two-way, right?
no, but anyone would be able
Oh, yeah.
now to take a left onto Davis.
It's still that way.
Yeah, so if somebody in this neighborhood right now to get out onto Main Street would go down to Davis and take a left.
Yeah,
They just
26.
would reverse it and
Yeah.
come down
You can see the
to
yellow.
School Street and take a
Yeah,
left.
no, but I'm just talking about the idea that, of taking a left onto School Street, which isn't really allowed now.
Right.
But a lot of people would
Yeah,
want to take a left on Davis, and with this new
Yeah.
scenario, they could do that.
yeah, yeah. I
That might
mean,
be-
so you think about that like a block from Davis Street to Federal Street.
Mhm.
Like if you're coming up Main Street, technically there's no way to access that, right? Because you're not supposed to go on School Street, and you
Right.
can't go down Davis Street. So that whole neighborhood right there,
Right,
technically, you can't get to it unless you go Federal Street and Ames.
right.
Wow.
So this would
This would
be,
make more sense.
this would help that flow
Correct.
for people wanting to access it, in addition to you folks,
Has
because,
there been any complaints about the design
No,
separately from what the concern you the fire department has, which is?
what we're proposing,
No, but about even the existing.
not that I'm aware. I think people are just so used to it.
yeah.
They're used to this too.
But you know,
But you're right to
it-
say it doesn't work that well in certain ways.
Right.
For us, you know, and I can't speak on behalf of the whole community. I can speak on the half of the fire department and the access. It would dramatically increase our ability to service. Yes, it's just a few buildings, but they're, you know, two of them are very prominent buildings downtown, and the other ones are it would give us quicker access to it. It also gives us another unimpeded access from all the way from Main Street all the way to Silver
Exactly,
Street.
because you get onto school and then you're blocked off there.
So like when construction's been happening, you know, and they block Chapman Street, for example, we have to go all the way around. We have to go all the way to Federal Street, and because the railroad track between Chapman and Wells, you know, we can't go under the underpass, and then the Allen Street Bridge is in a very big truck is gnarly.
I know how
Because it goes
climb it
up and it feels like you're like gonna launch before you start cresting over and
Right,
seeing
right.
what's,
Wow.
so.
I know how hard it is to get around town just as as for us. I can't imagine a fire truck given the limitations on the street access with the railroads.
Yeah, and you know,
Jeez.
I give my firefighters credit because this wasn't, you know, I didn't come up with this idea, you know, it was the guys that respond every day and say, hey, listen, you know, this has become a little bit of a problem for us in some access. And we go to those buildings, those particular buildings regularly. And then, like I said, we've had incidents, you know, down in the hole there and parts of Davis Street. That is just it's a challenge for us to go around.
Mhm. I think the fact that Ames Street is two-way makes it irrelevant to
Yeah.
the person anyway. And I agree with you that school's awkward and this makes
Yeah.
school kind of safer and more.
We had a fire in one of the buildings there, and the way that I had to access is I went down Chapman Street and then zigzagged through the parking lot
Yeah.
in order to get to it.
Right.
That was the quickest route, so.
So I wanted to ask you if you would then, as I don't know what the exact design for that portion of Main Street is off the top of my head, but would you want a left turn lane to go into Davis, or can you live with or without that?
So Main Street's in the process of being redesigned by the state.
Right.
And by making a change now and getting that to them as quickly as possible would be built, I would imagine it would be built into that plans when they do it.
Do you want a turn lane there? Like, do you
I
think?
don't know if it's big enough to put a turn lane in with the parking and everything. Like, that's not really my,
Right.
You
my
could live with
okay.
or without a turn lane.
Yeah, I don't think we need a. I don't
Negative
think we
turn.
need a turn lane.
So if you get rid of any parking in Davis between Main Street and Ames?
Get rid of parking? I don't think it's necessary.
Sorry. Would be okay to leave the parking there? Maybe one side?
You know, one of the things that we don't know yet is like, you know, Jaduke has children that they drop off for school. Maybe this improves their ability to drop off kids
Right.
and some other stuff. So I am interested to hear what the actual, those two big
Right.
buildings. would say.
Wilson's and
Yeah.
Jaduke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wilson's and.
Jaduke.
Jaduke is a
Yeah, I know.
preschool childcare. Okay.
Yeah.
I think from a planning perspective, this would be an improvement for general access to
Like a.
things, to neighborhoods and stuff like that. Like you say, have to hear from the particular businesses, but I think it's improved access to be able to go up Davis, because it's easier to make that left-hand turn if you're going in that direction.
Yeah.
On Main Street, so.
If Ames Street was a one-way, I wouldn't even be bringing it forward. It just wouldn't make any sense.
Right,
Because
right.
Ames is
Yeah.
like between those two streets.
Yeah.
It's really a half a block, really. It's not even like a real full-size city block. So,
Do you think that, I'm just thinking so now, one thing you could do, because Ames Street between School and Federal is westbound, you could avoid the Main Street intersection by going down Ames and then down School. I guess you do that now by going over the dates. I don't know if people do that or not. Should we think about the directionality of Ames Street between School and Federal would you want that to be switched as a result of this? So if you're going, get out of the neighborhood easier? Like, what if you want to go to
I
Federal?
think Davis Street to Ames to School Street gets us access just as quick as it is to go the other. I wouldn't touch anything else.
For you guys, but you only drive from one spot out. I'm just thinking,
For neighbors.
yeah. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, just from a planning perspective, I think the fact that Davis and School become two-way at Ames Street means it's not a big impact to those. It's just this one little block, but the segment from Federal to Ames Street is currently westbound.
Mhm.
Is there any advantage to flipping that? Just because we're kind of messing with the flow?
They did that one. I think they tried that one time and I don't know. I don't think I think having access off of Federal Street is also important.
To get in.
So
into
if
that
you live in the
neighborhood.
Wilson, how do you get to the library by car?
On Davis Street, you would come up Davis Street, take a left on Ames Street, take a right on, great point.
Just go to Osgood or something, right?
Yeah, you would have to, that way you'd have to go to Pleasant Street and come through Federal Street. Would be the only way to do that.
Go up this way, over there.
We cut over Ames, up School, and over, Osgood's also to the west? Is that accurate?
Osgood
Yeah,
is
Osgood's
one way.
one way.
In that direction? Okay.
Think
You just have to scoot to Pleasant Street.
that might be a desire line. That's common, like all those people just trying to get on the east side of Main Street. The other desire line being Wilson's to the Rotary. I've done this, to be totally honest, with Davis being blocked off due to the construction. I've cut to the skate park.
Yes.
Admittedly, and which I'm sure is kind of dangerous, right? So here's the skate park.
Like, over the
So
ramp.
rather than having to go all the way up to Pleasant and then back down Chapman to,
Well, so I wouldn't do that. If you're trying to go to the Rotary, I'd just cut down Ames and go down School under the new plan.
Okay, right, because now school will allow that.
Yeah, that is too.
And if,
Okay.
if I'm on a call on Davis Street, I know it's a little different, but, and we're point that way, I'm gonna go to Ames Street and probably cut down Church Street, down Franklin and get to the library that way.
Right, okay, so if you.
Or Federal Street, either one of them's just as quick.
Did you think about situations that originate not just at the fire station?
Yeah.
You think about being, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So would that mess you up if Osgood and or Ames were flipped?
Yes, I would not recommend changing the Ames Street. I would have that access come off of Federal Street.
What about Osgood?
I think Osgood works fine the way it is. Because Osgood ends at School Street, Ames Street goes all the way to Davis, so we can hit School Street and we can hit Davis Street. So we probably would never use Osgood unless we knew the house or where we're going is right there.
If you're gonna take a right on Osgood, you might as well just go to Pleasant.
Yeah.
That's the request, and I've got a bunch of other meetings that I have to go to, traffic and something. Parking. And some other meetings I gotta go to, but the mayor wanted to make sure that everybody had their chance to
Thank you.
weigh in and
Appreciate it.
beat up the proposal a little to see like,
Public safety to me.
see if there's stuff that we haven't thought
I
of.
thought you were doing this just so I can't make that left turn illegally ever.
Yeah.
Supposed to make that left turn, but yeah. So I think that island used to be, bigger. So it was, I think it used to be longer. So like it was very, you couldn't take that left turn.
Yeah, now it's like,
It's a little shorter, I think. And who knows what's gonna happen when they do the redesign? It's gonna have to, so that's why like it's important that if we're considering a change like this, that we get that to the designers and let them know that we're having a little traffic change, but.
It is so interesting that you get used to it the way it is and just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? It's gonna be, as we've changed streets in town, over the years.
Mhm.
It takes a little bit for your muscle memory to remember, oh, that's not the right thing. Like Park Street was never, wasn't always one way. And it took a little bit to get people to get used to it, so.
Right, so we don't want to get rid of the park.
I don't think so. We've gone down there and we've been able to double stack engines and the engine and the ladder and there's enough room, so I should mention too, the fire department connections, which is where we actually tie our truck into the buildings, are on this street, so getting to that quicker is obviously better for us as well.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be presenting on the bike plan next. There was discussion in the bike plan and from the community that Davis Street is a really good way for folks to safely bike from the north side to the main street because it's pretty slow and has that long spine. So I don't want that to prevent the goals of public safety, obviously, but I do wonder if there would be a counterflow bike lane to allow folks who are biking, let's say from the high school down Davis, to be able to do that legally all the way to Main Street.
With the parking.
I am not an traffic engineer, but from my standpoint, I don't think that's an issue, but like that would be a traffic engineer question.
Right, it is narrow.
It is narrow.
Just parking.
There's parking, so if you have parking, you turn into a bike lane.
Right.
But I mean,
There's sidewalk on both sides.
yeah, I mean, if we do it going, this way, you're still gonna, depending on what direction the bike is gonna go against the traffic.
Right, yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
really think it's,
Mhm. If you're going from Main Street up to the high school, you would take a right, yeah. Mhm.
It's a good thing to bring up.
I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all and thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Kelly, at that point, we'll talk about it in the bike plan discussion.
It's your comment about if I could.
Yeah.
Just could you mention about the sidewalks? That in the central commercial district, it's illegal to bike on the sidewalk.
They don't allow boxing, so, okay.
In the central commercial
Yeah,
district.
makes sense.
It's illegal, yeah.
What is that edge of the Wilson's project gonna have on it? I'm looking up Davis Street.
What's winning?
I'm just curious what where's the entrance to the grocery store?
On Main Street.
There's gonna be two, one in the front, one on Main Street and one in the back.
But not on the side. So
No.
okay.
And how do you get to it? It'll be interesting, but they'll be talking to Wilson, so we'll see what they think of. Is this Wilson?
Like it's easier to get. But so, right, all the people going grocery shopping. It's not just the residents, it's also the people grocery shopping.
And there might be parking behind Wilson.
Parking behind.
Yeah, I think there
There's dedicated
will be a
parking.
lot of people taking a left there, if that's a new
That's right.
option.
That's right.
I think it will be a hot spot, but that's not necessarily, I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I don't know for sure, but it doesn't seem like it would be a bad thing necessarily, as long as it's designed for.
We talking about the one way to kind of follow the bike lane.
You're
Talking
talking
about
about
car traffic.
the turn.
Going left onto Davis to go shopping at the co-op.
Main Street.
That's gonna be a thing.
But if
It will be
yeah,
a
once
thing,
you have
yeah.
your groceries and you live on High Street,
It will be a thing, yes.
Yeah.
It will be,
Yeah,
it will be a big change, yeah.
And then you can take a right onto it or a left, right?
What's that?
On Davis.
Yes,
You come down and you go either way.
right or a left, yeah.
So I wonder if us did, there's more outlets back to
yeah,
better make sense. Like, I don't think it makes sense to have two one-way streets going west before you get to Pleasant Street.
yeah.
I'm not convinced. Ames Street is close to Federal Street. I can see people having an issue with, you don't want to have interference close to a major intersection like that. Theoretically, maybe it's far enough away.
Mhm.
I will say right now, it seems to me to be a very quiet block in terms of cars.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So I think it will change, but it's hard to predict based on the current baseline.
You just have to just watch what happens at drop-off time. And pick up time.
Truthfully, there's not that much traffic going into the parking lot of the Wilsons, of the co-op now in the back. I mean, people will park back there, but it's not really big.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
but this new one will be a lot larger and, everything could be different.
Yeah, we'll just see.
It'll be interesting to see.
But for what it's worth, I think that
I feel like going this way will be helpful to the store.
the Davis and School Street, to Chief's point, those are going to get hardwired in with the Main Street redesign. We can play around with Ames Street and Osgood Street another time. And it doesn't impact the design that's decades in the making. It's not a one-way door.
Interesting.
Okay, item 1. Do you want to save it? What else? We do have a lot to cover.
I certainly can. Whatever you like.
Why don't we see how long the images takes?
Okay.
Because those two items might be quick or not. I'm acknowledging the time, but also I don't want to keep the process going with the blank on. So let's skip the bike plan once again, at least for the time being. And go to review of proposed images to add to the draft downtown design guidelines.
I printed a few copies of them.
How's that? Thank you.
I've got it.
That's very nice.
Sure, thanks. All right, so I did not touch the tax that we had last time.
Mm-hmm.
I did take the liberty of taking a first pass at selecting images from what people had deposited into the photo album. And I decided to pick one per category because I think that just makes the most sense. I think we can say we like other things about these images, but like just having an image with a caption helps get a feel for what we're talking about. I thought the images that were collected covered good enough. I think I didn't feel like any of them were.
Very nice job. I think they're perfect. Captions are great.
The one that I added was the screening one. I had nothing for screening, and I just thought it'd be weird to have one item that doesn't have an image. I don't know if that's a great image or not. We can talk about that one. I thought it needs an image because it's kind of more abstract concept than the others.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted something that combines some landscaping and some more significant fencing, not just a chain link.
Durable. Yeah.
With something that looks like a mechanical unit behind it. So if folks haven't yet, maybe take a spin through the images and the captions and tell me what you think.
Where are these from? These pictures?
The people they're from are those of us that dropped
Just
the locations.
They're not towns per se, they're Google searches.
They're
and
Google
things
searches.
about,
So
you know,
they're not around this.
not
area.
necessarily.
This one is
One, okay.
Oh,
five.
That
is
one I
Northampton.
recognize. I figured that was.
Yeah.
This is
fun.
this is Boston, I believe. I got this. That's in,
All right.
I forgot what neighborhood. Did you recognize this one? The East Boston?
I thought it kind of looked like South Boston, but I can't identify any.
Okay, I could look it up. It was coast up.
All right, that was helpful.
They all, I think, are in the US.
Yeah, they're all definitely local towns. They're all, I searched Northeast. From here.
They're nice photos.
I picked some from every person that contributed. So everybody gets to, everyone had a contribution. Yeah, George?
Yeah, so I like the images and I like the captions. There was one, or there were two captions, in comparison to each other I want to comment on or ask for some feedback. So on page 5, the last phrase talks about visually terminated roof forms along the skyline. And then on page 7, the whole section is about roof forms. And it talks about a range of different roof forms that are architecturally compatible and support a diverse and visually interesting skyline. So I thought it was just interesting that these are it seems like two different approaches to what we're saying are a good way to present a skyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if I were, looking at these, would I understand what that meant? Or do these seem a little, are these contrasting? Are these in some ways incompatible? I was trying to, in my head, I just wanted to bring that up for discussion.
I don't see them being contradictory at all. I think they're both commenting that roof lines are important against your skyline. So you can, that's how I read that. That's what it's just saying. That you want the view up to be interesting.
In your view, George, is it the only rule that seems to be captioned in multiple places? Like if we just struck the roof forms comment from page 5, I don't see a huge difference between them. In terms of
You just what again? I'm sorry.
the captions are limited pretty much to the topic at hand within the section they're in. And that's the one that the roof line thing crosses the lines and it shows up in architectural design and roof forms.
Yep.
So we could just strike it from the architectural design and leave that a discussion of the facades.
Okay, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just pointing out what struck me as.
So just get rid of visually terminated roof forms in that one because you kind of have it in the next, more or less.
I was bringing it up for discussion. I wasn't making a suggestion.
Okay.
No, but I do think that's a good point that roof forms doesn't fall under the umbrella necessarily of architectural designs because it has its own section. So maybe that's a good suggestion to just leave it at facades.
I wouldn't use skyline in 2 captions, so I think that's a
Okay.
good thing.
Okay. Okay.
It's our style, we just painting by numbers.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, good.
I think that cleans it up, George. I thought it was a good catch.
Okay.
So I have to put an and in front of irregular rhythm. I guess I could just do this live. Fucking this up.
I think these are great. I think they're great images, great captions. My favorite are the screening and the parking. This is like a little polishing thing. For some reason, there's like a little image thing in the bottom left-hand corner of the photos on page 5, 8,
Oh, it looks like a photo.
and 10. And I'm not sure why, but it seems that those maybe don't belong there. But
Do we have copyright approval of this or trademark or whatever?
None of these were copyrighted.
anyway,
That's
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 the
not
only
on
thing
the
I
photo.
noticed.
That's something, that's some kind of tag we could put on it.
Yeah, anyway, I appreciate the time that
Mhm.
you took. Yeah, Jeff,
We could
is
just cover-
this your work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the time you took to write the captions.
I don't know what that watermark is. They might, I don't know if those are all. Which
I
of
believe
those,
there
your
are.
pictures are those Erica's pictures or mix? Is that like a Google?
Maybe it's from a
Artifact?
screenshot. Maybe it's from a screenshot, so it might be
That's what
stuck
I
on
feel
there.
like.
So might not be easy to solve, but I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, those are not my photos. Those are,
We can crop it.
They could be cropped off, I bet. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
You don't lose a ton of the
You don't
image.
lose much.
No,
You
it's just a
lose
small thing.
Like,
Yeah.
his arm or something, yeah. Let's just crop off. It does look weird. It's like, wait a second,
Yeah, I think cropping is a good solution. Yeah.
just don't see the bagel shop. It's okay. Oh.
It's not there anymore. Anyway.
nicely done.
Okay, good. So then what we will do, and of course, we can still continue to tweak this, but the intention was to get it 90% of the way there at least. And the images was a great help. When we put the purpose statements back in, that was a big help. Retain the references to where we got it from. I feel like it's complete now. And so
So your table of contents.
the table of contents, yeah. So the idea would be to, I would brief, or Ellen and I'm happy to do it, brief the city council on this idea so they know that it's coming, get their feedback, hopefully their endorsements. And then we would do something to the zoning that references this as one of the things we can point to. So it has more power than just a suggested reference stuff.
For site plan review.
For site plan would be correct,
Yeah.
yes. In downtown. So we'll clarify where this is, yeah, those things. So those are I guess those are two discussions. Included, comments on the captions and then, so I think, Ella, we can work on getting on an agenda with council. And after that, we'll put it on our action item list.
And we're specifically defining downtown as the central commercial district, right?
Yeah.
I think that has been discussed, yeah.
Yes.
It's not defined in here.
Yeah, so.
We need to say that somehow.
In the reference in the zoning code.
So that will be, it will be an official decision at a future meeting. You know, which the particular geographical area this will apply to.
And then the point you just made is that gets codified in the zoning, we don't have to put it in this. This is.
You can put it in
I
this.
think it'd be useful for someone to read this document to know what it applies to.
Yeah.
And not have to go somewhere else to know that.
Put that into purpose.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll get the phrasing aligned with the zoning code so they connect. Okay.
Great.
Do we want to
It's been a
stop?
long ways.
Yeah, it's nice and concise.
And then you were, your work.
Oh, I meant to ask this.
It was fun.
We know where this front image came from because it's
Yes.
not what
Victor drew it.
Greenfield town looks like.
It's the picture of Greenfield downtown. I just sent it off and make me a sketch of it.
I know, I'm worried. Jose, I did it, like, that's not, I don't think that's ever historically what it was.
So we should make it the real building.
It's just be a picture.
Yeah,
That's a picture of it. Stick-
well,
What's
the,
that? That's the picture.
You know, like that.
on the right there,
Yeah,
yeah,
both.
yeah.
So if we like this kind of image, we could take an image and put a filter on it, so it's sketcy like that. But I
Yeah.
don't think I think this was AI generated.
It was from a photograph.
I think they took some liberties.
Yep.
Yeah.
Creative. I mean, the front facade, or we just crop out the right and left. We could do that too. I think.
Well, the left
facade-
is right. That's a church.
Yeah, but then those buildings in the back, maybe they were there at some point, but it seems like a different photo.
I think a photo.
Yeah.
It's a nice photo.
It would be good to have it be accurate.
Yeah.
Because on the right-hand side, there was the bike racks and things like that. And so, yeah.
And we have, the other thing is we have photos in the document, so it would make sense to have a photo here. Otherwise, we do like sketches in the document, sketches here.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's the right view to include.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It symbolizes Greenfield and it says Greenfield on it. So, and it's in the right geographical area.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would even maybe back up a little bit to get more of this, the buildings to the side, just because they have then it's three different styles of building.
Yeah. You use a little bit of a sense of downtown.
Yeah.
So are we going to try to obtain a photo or does someone have one that we can
Take
use?
one on the way out the door, be a night shot.
Yeah, but it will be at night, won't it?
Yeah, we'll just have to take one sometime.
I can take one.
Okay, okay.
Does the city have a
I
photographer?
don't know if you'll be able to get one, because you have the statue in the way and everything else, if you stand across the street, so.
Oh, yeah, we could ask the Director of Communications or Communications Department of Greenfield. So. I'm sure we can get it.
Probably be able to manage. Okay, so that was quick. It's 8:06. Would we like to continue or would we like to go home? I'll make a motion to vote on whether or not we can.
I guess depending on how long the presentation on the bike path is supposed to be. Is there anything that,
What's the timing? Is there a time crunch on this? I know their work was limited. Are they finished basically? So now
They're
we're-
finished. There have been some grant applications and awards. There's nothing pressing.
Do we need to take a vote in the future about accepting the report or
No, since it was, no.
it's just a general information discussion or?
Yeah, it's a planning document of the city of Greenfield that I hope that the planning board will act on,
Yeah.
help implement.
I'd look forward to talking about it.
I think
An hour later.
we should talk about it and if we have more, if it goes on, we can just discuss it again.
Yeah, great.
Just
Does
continue.
anybody feel need to leave?
Two of us can leave. Okay, just want to, I know we've gone long sometimes, so I want to give others the,
I feel like you're working. Would you like to present it today or would you like to?
I won't be offended either way.
I think we should go for it.
Very good.
Poor Jeff. Okay.
It wasn't me this time. That's it. Let's get to work.
let's get
Exactly right. All right. Well, with that as an introduction.
Audience here, it's gone.
Madison's still there.
So,
Get into the page.
this. Here we, okay, so Greenfield's bike plan. So, I just wanted to provide a background on the bike plan, what the priority recommendations are. Discuss what your priority next steps are, and then talk about what we should do as a group. So, students of the Conway School prepared the bike plan based on close analysis of existing conditions, community engagement, and best practices. So the Conway Schools in Northampton, a master's program in ecological design, and they provided this to us for free. And it was a great product, a great process, I think. And I just kind of want to frame it. I see improving bikeability as an economic development strategy. I think it improves the everyday quality of life. And I think sustainable economic development is about improving everyday quality of life for everyone already here, and then to attract new firms and new families and new residents of all kinds. Also, 1 in 10 Greenfield residents don't have access to a car. So it's economic development strategy in terms of just helping them be able to get to the doctor's office or get a bag of groceries when you don't have access to a car, to do that safely and conveniently. Research shows that bike infrastructure increases property values through a variety of different means and can benefit local businesses. And more recreational bike infrastructure like rail trails. There's been recent studies of Northampton's kind of rich network of rail trails and the economic development impacts of that I also think that it can amplify and leverage existing investments like the rail trail that should be replaced with the greenway. So that's a multi-use path that runs along the river currently. So that is severely underused. So we could think about how to connect that to a greater network, how we can really leverage existing assets that a lot of folks have invested a lot of time and money in, and also leverage the main street, complete streets, so that it's not just like an isolated effort. I also think Greenfield is uniquely positioned for good bikeability. Unique as in like definitely statewide. I think
Like nobody
nationally,
else.
like nobody else has an intact grid like this and is a small town. It's flat. It's really well connected street grid. And there's still major destinations within town, like all of the schools and and multiple grocery stores and job centers like the hospital and city buildings. I think this is really rare that the grid is still intact and that these destinations are still within that grid. A lot of nice new schools are built, but outside of the grid.
The railroad is an unusual thing here for us.
Yeah,
We're at the two railroads.
that's a barrier. So the plan was developed based on data analysis, like this rigorous data analysis that I won't go into here. And they created a whole model, existing plans and community engagement. Here's a picture at the John Sonn Center. So the recommendations are drawn out here. This is an image of the plan. The pink is off-road infrastructure and yellow is within road. So it's 10 network segments, really about building a network. So I don't know how many folks have ridden a bike here. I know that Vice Chair is an avid biker, but it's great to be able to bike from A to B, but then you're just stranded at B, so you just never bike. It's really about building a safe and convenient network. So that was the goal of the plan. So here are the recommendations. There's 10 major ones. One is to build bike lanes, protected bike lanes on Federal Street of the safest kind, which is a sidewalk, a bike lane, then parking, then the travel lanes. So the bikes are totally protected by parked cars. Federal Street already has bike sharrows. So sharrows are the painted arrows. So there's already been thinking and engineering and investment in making Federal Street bikeable, but sharrows aren't done anymore. They really don't improve safety. They're just like a sign of like a biker might be here, but they in no way protect the biker. So I think that this would be ambitious, but it's, I think, also just a way of thinking of it as updating existing infrastructure.
So that's putting a hard curb kind of on the edge.
Effectively. It's not always, doesn't always have a hard curb. Often these are just, there's just like bollards here. Wouldn't necessarily have a hard curb.
It's funny when you say it's protective, is that what is giving it more protection?
That this blue car can't swerve and hit this parent because there's a parked car in the way.
And why can't the parked car swerve and hit the parent?
Because they'd be going into the sidewalk. There's nowhere for them to go there. And there's usually little where I've been and biked, there's like plastic bollards here. But they're also going much slower than 40 miles an hour down Federal.
Federal Street's wide enough to put, you put one on both sides, or that's a two-way bike?
Both sides.
Federal Street's wide enough to accomplish that? That's 6 lanes of traffic, right?
Yeah, bike lanes aren't as wide as vehicle lanes, but there is dimension. Yep.
Put that, there's an
But they've
illustration.
done the measuring to.
Yeah.
So where's the existing curb? I know that's just a random sketch, but
Yeah, they had sections in the
Okay.
plan. I didn't include them here.
it's
That's
definitely.
this higher level, but yeah.
The one challenge I've seen with this structure, which I understand the value of it, is in getting out of the parked car. If you don't have enough room, you're right into traffic, So say when you pull your car in, yeah, I've seen this in the South End in Boston, where, you have the bike lane, you have the parking, and you have the cars, and you're getting out of your car, and you're getting so much happening there. You're getting out of your car, and you're like, oh shit, there,
You're talking about person in the car getting out into car
Person in a
traffic.
parked car.
Getting out into
parked
car
getting-
traffic.
Yeah, because you have to get into the main road to get out of your car unless you're a passenger.
Yeah. The
So you just
concern,
have to have enough room, that's
Yeah.
all.
the concern I have is for cyclists getting doored
Sure.
by someone opening the door into the bike path.
The pedestrian.
No, the
passenger
cyclist.
getting out of the car opening.
The
Right, the
cyclist.
pedestrian door,
On the passenger side.
the passenger side,
Right.
sorry, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
And for people stepping out of their car in front of a cyclist. So, because I've never ridden this kind of arrangement. So, I mean, the cyclists would still have an option of riding in the traffic lane, in the car lane.
Yeah, that traffic lane would be narrower, so it'd be hard to ride your bike alongside a car.
You'd have to ride as a car.
I'm not sure that it's wide enough. 42
Why
feet.
not? To have,
I'd be curious to see this.
because there isn't
Okay.
parking on both sides now, everywhere.
Not everywhere.
Sure.
Yeah, this is, yeah. I
Let's go.
remember seeing this in the plan and I was trying to picture it.
Federal Street is very variable. It goes
Yeah,
from
That's the thing.
Penn Center
Yeah.
City
That might
up
be-
near Main Street with parking on both sides
Right.
to practically a highway up where it connects with Silver Street. I mean, I'm exaggerating to say it's practically a highway, but it's, very fast, no parking.
Yep.
Lots of in and out
But I know
traffic.
when I came in '02, I saw Federal Street. I had this, like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, I had this image of bike lanes on Federal Street. And it took till we started the master plan process to get them painted, but, 12 years later, but where there's still a pinch point at, when you cross Pierce Street. And that's where the bike lanes, actually, that's where they put showers in because there wasn't room for the bike lanes. That's where they have cars parked there. And so they had a shower.
Showers are just in the road themselves.
Yeah, so showers were in the middle of the
Of the
travel lane.
driving lane.
And so you'd have to go into the middle of the lane temporarily and then cut up back to the bike lane.
I
where it
can
would-
see why it's not.
So there are some places where this wouldn't be feasible. Yeah, so I'm trying to, I'd love to see the actual design of the whole stretch of, because they must have done this for all of Federal Street. They did
It
a,
was not to the point of engineering. I
Okay.
know that feasibility and dimension was accounted for.
okay.
But this certainly hasn't been drawn, this is a high level plan that took 3 months.
Yeah.
So engineering would be a next step.
Yeah.
I think you could be pretty much everywhere fit. If I put bike lanes on both sides, 1 parking lane and 2 11-foot travel lanes, that would always work. If you need to cut the parking to make the bike lane continuous, you could. But I think the travel lanes on Federal Street are wider than they need to be.
Because the thing is, I'm very wary as a cyclist of having the curb as a barrier to, for a protected bike lane. But you can have, where you don't have room for cars, you can either have, like you say, bollards, plastic bollards, or you can have just a buffer, like on 510 down at Deerfield. And boy, I rode that hundreds of times commuting to Northampton. And when you have that, and before they had those lines there, and that, it's just paint, but it makes you feel so much safer because people don't drive over the paint, and just like on Federal Street. But it's interesting when you go to these, planning sessions, some of us were like, oh my God, the bike lanes on Federal Street are so great. And some people will say, what bike lanes are you talking about? It's terribly dangerous on Federal Street. And the perception is just so different based on people's comfort.
There's be no parking on Federal Street, just get rid of the parking, so you paint a bike lane all the way down both sides.
But I think improving the protectiveness somehow, I don't think you can do it exclusively with parked cars. I think it's going to be a combination of protected lane. That would be my thought, from the dimensions we're talking about. But I think having bollards or having, a painted, a crosshatched painted thing in some places could do the trick of making more people feel safe.
Mhm.
It's a suggestion one.
This is, I had no idea there'd be so much
We're on
interest.
suggestion one.
And again, this is really high level, the engineering was not done here. But so that same painted buffer was recommended for Silver Street because there are so many curb
How long
cuts.
do those last, these painted buffers?
DPW repaints our crosswalks every year.
So why
I
give
don't
it?
understand why Federal Street isn't painted.
Is this the idea of doing the entire bike lane in paint or just in certain sections?
Yeah, entire bike lane, the standard now is all green paint, but the distinction I'm making is that this
corridor.
buffer is now not a set of parked cars.
Right.
It's just paint.
It really helps.
Is that not a structure?
Yeah, they have that here, but this would not be a curve. And it wouldn't be a set of parked cars.
Could that be that rumble strip you see on the highways?
Rumble strips are no longer recommended and I live on a street that has rumbles. It's not safe for
It's
bikes to have a
dangerous.
rumble strip.
What is
Yeah.
that almost again?
What keeps you awake on a highway when you veer
those
off.
things,
It's dangerous for cyclists.
They're no longer recommended.
If I was in for the buffer, you think good for the buffer.
Right, no longer recommended.
Because if you want to take,
All right, let's keep, I'm gonna keep on moving. I am gonna keep on moving. Okay. I mean, I really like this level of engagement with the bike plan, but we're not gonna veer every street at this point. Okay, so traffic calming on Davis or Wells, so that was number 3 for north-south connection. So we have the Federal Street spine, north-south, Silver along the top. But then the secondary, which are really natural kind of bike corridors right now, and you don't need as much infrastructure because they're pretty safe due to the low amounts of traffic. So focusing on those, so that was why I wanted to kind of point out Davis. So things that you could do here are kind of further traffic calming. So I've seen in other cities and experience as a biker, fold out. You lessen the distance of the crosswalk by making the sidewalk wider at the crosswalk, which really helps. You can also make, instead of stop signs, you make really slow little mini rotaries, basically. And that makes it so much nicer as a biker because you don't have to come to a stop at a time. There's a stop sign, and there's no car around. That's a lovely way to make it really a bike boulevard.
if people want to look up Bicycle Boulevard, those are wonderful concepts. Yeah, the ways that it's where it's kind of the light, slow traffic and bikes and cars just mingle together. So it's a great
in
approach.
Berkeley, there's a lot of them, and it was just like such a pleasure. And it's low cost. Okay, so here's the issue of the railroad and the 2 crossings at Allen and Arch, and those being tricky from an engineering perspective. So there were some ideas. I didn't want to get into the specifics of that, but really slowing down traffic as it crosses under the bridge and over the bridge at those 2 sections. I think mostly about kind of improving awareness of those 2 sites.
Yeah, slow down regardless there.
What?
I feel like you gotta slow down.
Already,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, slow it. I wouldn't put a bit, that seems scary to me.
What that barrier,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
I just feel like people are gonna run into that thing.
I'd rather run into that than a biker.
Is that a traffic calming measure?
Yeah.
Oh.
Cars specifically?
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
I haven't seen that one of those before. Interesting.
But is it what do you think that would be? So,
I don't think it would be cement. It wouldn't potentially harm a vehicle, but it makes you drive more carefully.
need something.
Gotcha.
Right.
And we heard the fire trucks don't go under there anyway.
Yeah.
And then there are ideas about connecting the east side with the multi-use path along Beacon Field. I haven't walked this myself, to be honest, but so from Beacon Field down Parkway and then potentially an off-road path. So again, just like thinking about the whole spider web, the whole network of how to connect. Yeah.
There is sort of a cut through now that you can do there, so I can see what they're thinking about. Mountain Road though surprises me because, it's such an easy way out of town if you're going for biking, but there's no protection on that road at all. And you zip down, you only down.
Right. So I think it was only this.
Right, I understand that part. And that part, there's no walkways, there's really nothing to kind of go up there safely. But I was just wondering if when they talked about biking out of town and corridors, whether trying to do something with Mountain Road, the other part of Mountain Road, to provide a little bit more of a bike safety area on it.
Yeah, they didn't get into that.
That off-road path, is that something they're saying exists?
No.
Oh,
There is something there.
There is a-
there is,
Just a cut through.
Okay.
However, to my
through the woods, right?
knowledge, it is private
Private
property
property.
that interestingly, the town formerly owned and sold in the last 5 years.
No, really? Oh,
That's
I've
just
walked
my
that many
knowledge.
times,
Just-
but-
That's my knowledge. And the current owners, I believe, don't post private property. They just they just are aware that people are walking through there. Yeah.
I haven't explored this.
It's the woods, it connects to Spring Terrace
Yeah,
and then it
yeah.
connects to an apartment building that's on.
Yeah, that white apartment building.
Freeman Drive, I think. Yeah, Freeman Drive, maybe. If I'm
And there's
recalling
more.
correctly.
You're saying, yeah, I didn't look into that one. Similarly, connecting the west side with safe infrastructure, including to GCC. This was in the 2017 Complete Streets Prioritization Plan. I didn't even go into that, but there is a Complete Streets Prioritization Plan from about 10 years ago. And so there was infrastructure added to Coleraine Street. There is a bike lane, an unprotected, but a bike lane along Coleraine Street. My understanding is the bridge over the river, that's under construction, right?
Yeah.
Will have a 3-foot wide bike line in the shoulder. It's basically a shoulder. And College Drive has a bike lane in the shoulder too, I believe.
College Drive?
Don't think so? Okay.
There's a lot of space, but I don't think it.
So
It's very
maybe that
slow,
doesn't have any
so-
on it. Right, yeah.
Also, they have a huge sidewalk that's like, basically looks like a bike path.
Right.
It has a bike painted on it too, the sidewalk.
Okay.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think that's listed in the report as a bike path
I can see why they would.
because it's off-road and it's next to the
And
road.
there's
Well, this was a
the bike
And
lane.
there's a picture of a bike on.
This was I didn't totally understand this. This was a recommendation, but I do feel like some things have already been done here.
Yeah.
And then find a way to connect to Turner's Falls. And so 3 ways were outlined to do that, outside of Turner's Falls Road. So one was through Canada Hill. There's a city-owned property right off of Turner's Falls Road that has right-of-way almost all the way to Turner's Falls Road. But I think there was a fairly recent land swap that disconnected that right-of-way, so it'd be hard to regain. There's an idea of all of this is owned by First Light, the hydroelectric company, and they have a dedicated staff person who's the recreation director, because it's part of their mitigation package to provide recreation on their lands, who has been amenable to this idea and has spoken with their legal team to provide us a right of way that would then have to connect to, it would have to go through another private property owned by Stone Farm Lane, the site of the proposed subdivision.
Right. So is that,
Which I
is
think could
that,
happen.
is that an existing path there of some sort?
There's no
Oh.
existing path
Oh,
there.
okay.
It would take a lot of money to create.
Got it. Good. Okay, thank you.
There's some trails down there, but probably doesn't match that trail.
Yeah, and to make it bikeable.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it would
nothing
be
like
required.
that.
And then a longer path just all the way through First Light to follow the river's edge.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about, that longer one.
No, so this one would go through Stone Farm Lane and then
Oh,
connects to the
south.
streets right there.
I've heard people bring up a funicular,
What is?
this is a pie in the sky, that there's a funicular connecting the two towns, like a cable car.
It's a cable car.
Gondola.
In particular, is a rail, it's on rail, but it's pulled by a cable up a slope.
It says one in Quebec City or, yeah. City, right? There's a funicular, is it?
Particular.
Yeah.
And there's cog railways. Of course.
Zip line?
Wow.
Okay, and then they also noted that there's this large affordable housing
Yep.
development that has no access to all those amenities that we described further, and there's no sidewalk on Lyman Road. And so recommending a sidewalk to make that more accessible.
I know someone who was wheelchair bound because they were hit walking on that road.
Wow.
And then finally, connecting the Riverside Greenway. So the Riverside Greenway is in purple here. So that's an existing more than mile long, beautiful multi-use path that connects to our swimming area. That again is severely underused. It's very hard to get to on bike. Great.
What's the dotted line?
The dotted line is from the 2007 Urban Vision Plan, which would be a greenway through this green section is city-owned, Miller's Meadow, where there's a large restoration project for meadow and forest, more than 900 trees planted by volunteers.
Oh, yeah, I see. That's going over Main Street.
And then, yeah, from that plan, there was a ped bike bridge over the river at the southern end of Miller's Meadow.
Oh, it's just Mead Street, the Mead Street.
Yeah, this included Mead Street, and then
Yeah.
along River Road, and then Mead Street is here.
Yeah.
I think there's legs to a variation of this. I would love to see something like this. I think it would have huge benefit to the city.
That's been discussed for a long time.
It's been discussed for a long time.
There was a charrette years ago about that whole Mead Street thing.
Right, the state provided funding to think about this. There's been kind of some newer opportunities. This parcel is for sale, for example.
Oh, that's the parcel. That's right behind the old like farm stand and all.
Yeah.
Up north, that little dotted line, is that going through the jail property?
No, I think that this is just Nash's Mill Road, but I don't know. I think the jail property is lower. I don't know what this gray thing is right here. I've considered that going to the jail property.
Because I've thought of that before,
Yeah.
if you look at the jail
So
to the
big.
left, you just, it's a slope that goes right.
Right, totally. I think
Yeah.
that slope is lower here. Yeah. But I would be totally open to exploring that.
Who owns the jail?
Right,
Near the county.
State.
But there is no Franklin County.
Well, that's a good bad.
That's probably the state.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Sheriff's office.
Yeah, sheriff's, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, yeah, as an entity, that would be my guess.
But there's no county.
Yeah, I know. It's an idea.
Okay, so things that we've gotten started. So this was released May, maybe. So things that we've gotten started on is that we applied for a local early actionable elite state grant to analyze the feasibility of that connection with Turner's Falls, because that was the highest community priority. We were awarded that grant. We haven't released that yet. Maybe, but we were.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Unfortunately, it's not to explore the feasibility of alternatives. It's all in-road improvements. But hopefully
For
that will
Turner's
make
Falls
things
Road.
safer for Turner's Falls Road.
Can I make a comment about this? This is what I've said at many of these gatherings. The issue there is twofold: signage and speed. There's a signage for look out for falling rocks. The issue is look out for pedestrians and look out for cyclists. And it's 40 miles an hour. It's maybe it's less than a mile. And you don't have to go 40 miles an hour there. I always do it at 30. You know, I've calculated how many seconds difference it is. You just go have it changed to 30 miles an hour.
Well, great. Hopefully there will be engineering services provided. So hopefully they can do exactly that. And
I
we
would
have the money to
hope,
do it.
I would it just seems so obvious, so simple. You're sharing this, you can't expand the road there with the shelf, and the drop off. It's human engineering we need to do, changing people's behavior. And of course, some people are going to ignore it and some people don't go 40, but a lot of people will go slower. I keep people behind me going slower and a lot of people will do that and just put more signage. Yeah, I really think that's the key there for that road. And it's a crucial road. I know people walk there all the time. People like it. So we're gonna have people dying now. You know, it will be tragic. Anyway.
We're also yeah,
There's a question on what in-road means. Did they widen the right of way?
it's very difficult to widen the right of way because of the ledge and then
Both
the.
sides, like some parts, it's like maybe you can.
So I think that they'll look into that.
Okay.
But in-road as in not those, it was
Oh,
about the feasibility of the other options.
Okay.
They're not gonna look into that, but they will look into
And why don't they,
speed
did
signage.
you ask for a broader one?
Because it's
and they
not
came
city
back?
owned. Those other ideas are not yet city owned, on
Not
city
feasible.
owned.
I see.
Um,
Respectful.
yeah,
That was great that they considered those options. That was
yeah, great. And lighting was the other thing that they were talking about. I think
Awesome.
particularly for pedestrians going up to the Stop and Shop.
great.
We're currently applying for a shared streets grant to engineer a safer bike route along Coleraine Street from Main Street to the Greenway. So that's the stretch along Miller's Meadow. So, we're about to have beautiful bike lanes all down Main Street. We're also potentially about to have beautiful multi-use path along the Rotary. This is all MassDOT led, Massachusetts Department of Transportation. But so if you wanted to get to our lovely swimming area, you could bike from the swimming area. Kids could do this in these hot summer days down a multi-use path. But there's no safe way to then get to Main Street. And so there's currently just sharrows, just painted markers on Coleraine Street. So try to think of a way to make that safer. And then particularly there's one segment here that doesn't have any bike infrastructure at all. So I feel like this is a key link in the network. So we're pursuing funding to do that, engineer that. That will be submitted tomorrow. And then we've incorporated bike racks into the site design of Miller's Meadow. Again, it's already city owned. We can do that. And that way, at least there's kind of a terminus to the Greenway, because the Greenway, there is a new crosswalk from Miller's Meadow to, I think it's Riverside Drive to the Greenway. So there's bike racks, at least it's kind of suggesting this idea that there's this green space down at Miller's Meadow. You can take a beautiful bike ride and then go up to swim. Another idea is that I'd like to help institutionalize is digging once or painting once. So if we're going to repave the roads, how can the planning department and the planning board be involved in those decisions and the operations of DPW? How can we all work together to increase efficiency so that if they're going to pave, they can incorporate bike infrastructure without increasing any costs? Getting the Main Street project right, it's really focusing on that. It's not a bike project, but it is a huge investment in our public realm and our public streets.
You mentioned that there are bike lanes designed in it. People have seen that?
Yes.
On both sides are bike.
Above grade, they'll be equal with the sidewalk, protected bike lanes on both sides.
Parallel park.
Parallel and angled parking.
Depending
It's
on,
only 25% design. Will still be feedback, but yes, the bike line design discussion was pretty robust. Before my time, but yeah. Partner with active residents. So there's a new bike group. So I want to certainly work with them and be informed by their priorities. And they have different efforts, I think, that they'd like to get underway. Focus on families. The middle school won a statewide Safe Routes to School award in 2025.
Oh, that's great.
So there's already a lot to build on. And one thing that the bike plan doesn't focus on, it's all about infrastructure. But a lot of biking, as you're saying, is about programming. Like Safe Routes to School sometimes is about better bike lanes or better bike racks, but it's also, I think, like the premier program is the bike bus. So organizing kids and families to bike together, and you have so much more power and safety in numbers. So that's very low cost. You're not making anyone angry with a bunch of kids riding bikes together.
I know.
Yeah. And there's already been support about bike lanes on Federal, so I actually didn't think there was going to be, but I've heard there's support.
Excellent.
So that's what I've tried to start prioritizing, but interested in what you all think. And from your perspective, yeah, what are your top priorities, best next steps? And from your perspective, what are the best ways to connect to the Greenway? What's the best ways to leverage the main street? And are there other like high priority, small segments that we should get going on?
You go back one slide. The concept of dig once. I'm curious if it would make, if there needs to be some preparation for that, like almost like some guidelines. What is DPW willing to tolerate? You talk to the fire department, please just get endorsement for certain standards. So when you have a road that's this wide, we can always bring the line into this point, or they'll always let us put a bike lane there. We don't have to like argue these things. We've got buy-in on just conceptual solutions to some of the standard road dimensions that we have and intersections. I was doing a project in a city in Indiana, and we came up with an idea for a street, and it turns out they were painting those lines that day. And the mayor let us go and tell them where to put the lines in a better place. But you're not always prepared for that when they're doing it.
Right, that's the thing, yeah.
And they might not, I mean, I know they plan these things in advance, but still. Then maybe the bike group can think of what their priorities are. Maybe the bike plan has some ideas about that. They might not always be the ideal protected bike lane with extra infrastructure, but at least their best practices about even just narrowing lane widths with paint to always go down to 10 feet instead of 12 or 13.
It's in the master plan, because I remember being on the transportation subcommittee with the advisory group developing the master plan, learning so much about, and a lot of lanes had been a standard 12 feet. And so it's in the master plan about going to no more than 11 and sometimes to 10. And you'll see the difference, like you come, when you first come into town on 510, that curve there, when it was redesigned, those are 10-foot lanes, and you feel it. You feel, ooh, I gotta stay in the lane. It's funny. You feel it when it goes down to 10 feet. And so I don't know if that's something that, from the point of view of if that's considered when they're redoing roads, and because it makes such a and again, it's just paint.
Yeah.
But it's scientifically shown how much it slows people down when the lane, painted lane is narrower. It's a significant percentage of speed reduction. And that increases safety dramatically. So cyclists and pedestrians.
I would love to talk about this more at the next meeting.
Yeah. And I'd like to think about some of the questions.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested. I don't want to stop now, nor do I have the energy to go much further.
About the new bike group, you said, that's obviously an informal group that's gotten together, but interested in hearing.
Was that prodded by the city, or is that a group that formed on its own?
I think it was born at the community meeting.
Yeah, for this.
Nice.
For this plan, yeah. I heard people were talking about that, but that's good to hear. It came to fruition. It's excellent.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
So should we put it back on the agenda then does this require an action to take position, or we're saying it doesn't? It doesn't have to be noticed?
Yeah, we can throw it on the agenda.
Yeah, it's a further thought.
Yeah, we'll do your last slide next one.
Right, yeah. Like the discussion item on today's meeting was presentation by Director Wise and discussion of the Greenfield Bike Plan. So maybe we can just have the discussion portion next time.
Thank you for the presentation.
Interesting.
You did a good job.
And for the follow-up, obviously, that you've done so far.
Yeah.
That's great. Board of stuff.
You ready for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
When's our next?
September 3rd. There's a joint hearing on the 11th next week.
This Tuesday.
Thank you for reminding me. At 6:30, right?
At 6:30. Here.
Oh, and will we be getting, we haven't gotten materials yet, have we?
No, Tammy will send them tomorrow.
Well, okay, great.
And we have quorum. See, we're not sure you make it, so you don't have to come.
I would have to get a babysitter.
Tuesday,
That's
joint
why.
planning board,
Yeah.
yep, 6:30.
So it's an option, but not a desirable one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There.
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.